to the degree that you want something is the degree you're afraid of not having.
Yeah. God, I wish I started when I was younger. I go, well, yeah, but you didn't. So shut the fuck up and let's keep going.
Right.
Like, you can't.
Nobody changes until they change their energy. And when you change your energy, you change your life. Because it's not till then that it's really real.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is way worse than I thought. It's like, oh yeah, it's way, way worse than you thought.
Yeah.
But luckily, there's more to you than you think.
Justin Wren, we finally made this happen, man.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a while in the works. And of course, you joined Fit for Service and we got to be really good friends before we did this. So it's fucking even better.
It's even better.
It's even better.
Absolutely. I love this. Synchronicity.
Yeah. So, man, let's go back. And I think a lot of people are familiar with some of your story, but I want to go back to the beginnings.
Sure.
You know, like early family.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously you've had an incredibly interesting life with what's gone on, but you know, oftentimes you can find these kind of roots, these sparks of both trauma and challenge and also inspiration from the early days. So take us back to the early days.
Yeah. I think it's been a while since I've talked about that. I think there's some stuff that I've learned recently about my family that does contribute to like my mission and vision and life story. Anyways, yeah, I was born in Greenville, Mississippi, which I guess is the first, I think, if I'm correct, it's the first kind of all-black city in America. And so my mom was like one of two white people at her school.
An all-black city?
Yeah, in Mississippi. Just
so that must have been the product of some kind of segregation or something,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, definitely. Big time. My parents grew up around all that. My parents are so open-minded. I love them.
So your parents were like, nah, fuck this. You know, like, we're not into this. We're going to go integrate and just be a part of the city.
Yeah, I mean, they grew up there. And they were some of the last people that my dad moved for his job. I grew up around actually like Shaquille O'Neal, Jason Kidd, Michael Jordan, Brett Favre. My dad's a professional sports photographer.
Uh-huh.
So I grew up around professional athletes, and just from an early age, being a kid, I wanted to be a pro athlete. Even though I didn't think I could do it really, because like I had no self-confidence, self-worth. I grew up getting very heavily bullied from like 3rd grade to 8th grade.
Look what they done did.
Yeah.
Thanks, bullies.
Yeah. It made me a fighter.
Yeah.
It drew me into fighting. And anyways, being from Greenville, Mississippi, then I moved to Dallas-Fort Worth at an early age and grew up in the country. And when my parents moved out of Fort Worth into the country in 3rd grade, that's when I started sitting at the lunch table by myself, getting pelted in the back of the head with chocolate milk spitwads, food, fist as kids walked by. I remember middle school, it really ramped up. And there's a kid that's now in jail, I think, for like armed robbery, but he just blindsided me with a football helmet in the back of the head. And I was in the locker room. I was sitting there sweaty, and him and the coach had gotten into it out on the field or something. And he's kind of this little, like, kind of, I don't know how you'd say it, but was in like a gang and was doing all this initiation, just a punk kid kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even see it coming. No warning. Me and him didn't have any beef on the field, nothing. And all of a sudden I just got smacked upside the back of the head with a football helmet. And after that, they took my clothes while I went to the showered up, didn't want to tell on them. So I got this big like a half softball coming off the back of my head. Take my clothes, throw them under the bleachers, and leave me a little hand towel to towel off with. And the girls' volleyball game's going on. And my clothes are underneath the bleachers.
And you said, ladies, I'm sorry, but you're welcome.
I'm sorry, but you're welcome.
That would have been the gangster move.
That would have been
do.
gangster, but I was not a gangster.
Walk out like
yeah.
I think walk out like Matthew McConaughey with a fucking bongo and just his dick out and just be like, "You're welcome."
Yeah. No,
I'm innocent.
I would have walked out with 2 or 3 pink bellies. You know what a pink belly was? Where they like slap your belly and leave a handprint on there. Some like purple nurples, stuff like that, walking out. But no, and then I guess the kind of big moment was I got invited to my middle school crush's birthday party. Her name is Jennifer, and her dad worked at Dr. Pepper, which I think is a Texas thing, right? That's where it originated, was Texas, Dr. Pepper. And anyways, her dad worked there, was an executive there. She was like this little actress girl. Do you remember Little Rascals, the movie? Well,
Ryan
like
probably does.
Alfalfa.
Ryan knows about Little Rascals.
That was my favorite movie growing up. And she was she was originally casted as Darla for Little Rascals, but they went with another girl that was older but looked younger type thing, because I guess child actors, that's better. Anyways, so she was this little, Alfalfa came to our middle school to have like lunch one day. And I was, so she was super popular, super cute.
Right.
And I was trying to impress her, catch her eye. And her birthday party was a costume contest. So the winner was going to get a prize. And it was a Dr. Pepper gumball machine, because her dad worked there. And they had a Dublin Dr. Pepper machine in their house from Dublin, Texas. They do like the real cane sugar, I guess, from there. And so anyways, I wanted to catch her eye. People were going as Thor. I probably should have gone as Thor.
That would have been a shoe-in.
That would have been a shoe-in.
But people didn't know then.
They didn't know them. I didn't have the hair. And then Batman, Superman, different stuff like that. But she loved Transformers. So I wanted to catch her eye, so I went all out. Her favorite Transformer, I found out, was Optimus Prime. So I decided to make myself head to toe Dr. Optimus Pepper to transform, right? 24 pack on the head, 12 packs on the arm, chest plate, sword, shield. And my mom helped me with some duct tape, being a country kid. So my mom's like, Jennifer's going to love this. So I thought I was going to rock it. I had the invitation and it was going to be dope. And got there. Mimi opened the door, her grandmother, and was like, Jennifer's going to, whoa. She's like, wow, Jennifer's going to be blown away. She's going to love this. Rumors at school were true. Push the button on the Dublin Dr. Pepper machine. It pops it right out. I go to the backyard, and they even had because he worked there, and it's kind of in the Texas culture, or at least their culture, they had Dr. Pepper vintage signs up and stuff. You got so much cool decor and feng shui in here, and same thing there. Like, it was a really cool house. And so I was feeling like, being a kid that grew up for 5 years being bullied from 3rd to 8th grade, this is 13 years old, I actually feel like, oh, I can stand a little taller. Like, I don't have to be so timid or hunched over or just like unsure about myself walking into this party. Like, I went all out. I'm going to catch her eye. Like, this is a shoo-in, like better than Thor. And so walk to the backyard, open the door, and I'm greeted by my peers. And man, I'm blasted with a couple flashes of light. And my eyes adjust, and I hear the sound of laughter, and I see that not one other person's dressed up. It's just me. And they're taking pictures of me. And I hear Jennifer say, I can't believe you thought you were good enough to come to my party. Tyler, next to her, said, you're worthless. He's got a cool turnaround story now, but then he was, I don't know, he was just not the kindest guy then. But Justin, the one that notoriously bullied me from 3rd to 8th grade, this was his like mastermind, his brainchild. And this wasn't the first time he had done something, went all out, got everybody in on it. And I remember Justin saying, you should just kill yourself.
Wow.
And so, 13 years old, I started the biggest battle of my life, which was against depression and suicidal ideation, and a couple of attempts in my life. And
when was the first one?
So 13, right then and there, I became suicidal. I ran away from that party.
It was like a spell that was cast on you in a certain way, At that moment, and all of that emotion and all of that humiliation, all that betrayal and all that, with those words landing in a vulnerable place. It's like
such a vulnerable, wounded place.
Totally. Where those words just wind their way in and becomes a thought idea, becomes inception in your mind. It's literally like a black magic spell.
Wow. It literally became my truth. Anytime I would go into like a place of darkness or depression or desperation, like I would think these 3 things: you're worthless, you're not good enough, maybe you should just kill yourself. I mean, take out the maybe, you should just kill yourself. And that was on like repeat on like a record player in my mind for 20 years almost. It went from 13, then I kind of broke through it from 15 to 17, 18.
When did you start beating people up?
Whenever I was 19, I started fighting professionally.
So you never got to beat Justin up?
No, I didn't.
You must have thought about it a few times.
Oh yeah. So I'm at a sushi spot after the Ultimate Fighter. And I'm 21, 22.
It's called reckoning, bitch.
Bro, it was kind of wild. I went in there real quick. I was at a place called Bar 9 in Fort Worth, and they just had a big watch party at Buffalo Wild Wings for me, then the after party at Bar 9, but there was a sushi spot, and I called Piranha Sushi. Anyways, they had this Marry Me roll. It's called Marry Me, and it had avocado, tuna, and strawberries on it, and this like kind of sweet. Anyways, it's really good.
Romantic.
It was, Marry Me. It's a good proposal roll. Anyways, I went there to get that just real quick, and I see, no joke, Justin and about 8 or 10 people, and 5 or 6 of them were at that party whenever I was in middle school. And now it's 9 years later. And Justin comes up, grabs me, says, no fucking way, come over here. And he brings me over to that table, and I'm like dreading it. I feel like I'm in middle school again.
Wow.
I feel like, oh shoot, like I'm looking in the eyes of Jennifer, Tyler, Justin, Corey, like these people that were at the party. The people that know now, because I shared on Joe's show, his podcast, and stuff, but they know that I literally ran away from that house party. I ran away from her birthday party, ended up behind a Dairy Queen, ripped off the cardboard chest plate and shield and threw it away. I had duct tape residue, like sticky stuff on my shirt, my jeans. I was literally hugging it, like curled up into a ball or fetal position on my butt, but like almost hugging my knees and rocking, just bawling, bro. Just bawling, thinking I'm worthless. I'm not good enough. I should just kill myself at 13. And I'm there with them at 22. I think we recorded when I was 21. It played when I was 22. I'm the youngest heavyweight in the UFC. I was a 10-time state champion in wrestling, a 5-time All-American in wrestling, and a 2-time Greco-Roman national champion. Or actually high school, then Greco. Living at the Olympic Training Center, went on the Ultimate Fighter show, and he comes and brings me over to the crowd, they're all sitting down, I'm standing up. Even that body language, right? Like, not good enough to be at the table with them. I'm just stopping by the table saying hi real quick. And I know that's a silly thing because I'm in a place of like, not prominence, but just I've been on TV now. Yeah. And they're, doing whatever. And no judgments there, but just like seeing them, I'm like, wow, like I'm so glad I got away from this and found wrestling and MMA. And Justin.
And that resistance was the hammer and the forge and the place where you went in with brittle steel and that pressure, forged the blade that is who you are, right?
Yeah.
Like, so ultimately there's gratitude on the other side, but fuck, man, what a way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, because that same heat and that same hammer can really shatter somebody. And you've had to go through points where you almost shattered from, some of that early imprinting as well, and you've been riding that line of that was, an impossibly intense situation to hold that much. I mean, that amount of heat and that amount of pressure and those amount of blows, like you're riding the line of, can I adapt to this or will this overwhelm me?
Yeah. Oh man. And I felt overwhelmed. I felt consumed and just, flooded with like dark. I felt like I was drowning, and I've got something to tell you on that drowning, cause I had a vision, and I'm going to tell you about, in Sedona, with you. And, anyways, I don't think they understood because I'm standing there. One, real quick to finish that story. I'm at Dairy Queen. I'm crying. I'm sitting behind a dumpster and they're closing and they're throwing away the garbage. And an employee hears me crying or sees me and says, "Oh, honey, what's going on? Like, come inside. What happened? We need to where's your mom?" It's like 9 or 10 p.m. at night. Dairy Queen's closing down, and it's right before cell phones, or at least I had a cell phone, and I don't think my mom had one yet. I'm 13, 20 years ago. And so I call home, leave a voicemail. She has to go home, get the voicemail, come back, because she's out searching for me. There's people looking for me because I literally ran away.
And what the fuck about the parents? Like, how did the parents let that happen? And how did fuck Dr. Pepper?
Yeah, right. I'm grateful for Dr. Pepper now.
No, fuck them. Dr. Pepper is done for me.
No,
it was done anyways.
It's
fucking really done. I'm not even going to drink Zevia Dr. Pepper. Maybe I will, but fuck it. It's done.
Well, one of those two, either Dr. Pepper or Zevia DP. We need to ask them for a sponsorship for bullying prevention now.
Yeah.
You know what? We could use the story.
Anti-bullying campaign.
Right? We could do that. Change it. Take something that was intended for harm and use it for good.
Yeah.
That's what I love to do now with my life. And, but yeah, so I literally had to transfer schools because of that. My mom comes. I just remember my mom being shattered. She knew I wasn't really totally accepted at school. She knew it was hard for me. But I hadn't really opened up and like let her know the depths of the darkness I was living in. But right after that, I was clinically diagnosed with depression. I was suicidal. But then I found MMA about 3 or 4 weeks after that party. And I was at Trader's Village, which is in Fort Worth or Arlington. And it's like this big flea market. I was going to buy a BB gun because I lived on a like little country, I was going to shoot some mice in the barn and just do a little target practice. And instead I found a used VHS shop that was also selling, I've never shared this story. They were also selling like flying squirrels. This place was selling flying squirrels and used VHS
Welcome
tapes.
to Oklahoma, everybody.
Right? Yeah. This was actually Fort Worth.
Welcome to Texas, everybody.
Texas.
You got a tiger here at this truck stop. You got a flying squirrel, and you got some UFC number one with Hoist Gracie on a VHS.
They were missing that one, but they had 2 through 11, I think, or 2 through 9.
Number one was fucking precious.
Yeah, it was. And I bought all of them. Hid them under my bed. And when my dad found the stash of VHS tapes under my bed, I'm 13 years old. He thinks I'm hiding a stack of porn or pornos.
He's like, listen, son, I don't know what you're into, but like, here's a Playboy. I'm a little worried about you.
He's thinking he's going to see 2, like girl on girl or something.
Yeah, no.
So it's guy on guy grappling pounding. In full mounts or in the guard.
And pound him, bro.
Taking his back, rear naked choke. And anyways, man, I guess to wrap that up, like my mom, like saw how devastated I was. Then she got behind me wrestling because I wanted to box before that.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you're not taking that head damage. You're not taking shots to the head as a kid. And then when I found wrestling, it was so much easier to sell to her or like show her. And then they found me support, 2 Olympic gold medalists as my high school coaches. Anyways, then I'm at the sushi restaurant. And I've never shared this with anyone, but I don't think. And I'm standing there, and they're all looking at me and they're all talking about that party. Do you remember when? And like, I'm taken back there. Because it's 9 years later, but I'm with the same 5 or 6 people that were basically the masterminds of this thing. The ones that created the fake invitations. It was their brainchild. They got everyone in on it. Hush, hush. Talk to Justin about what costume you're going to wear. Get him to talk about what he's going to wear. Like they helped me plan out this biggest bullying of my moment of my life to then say, you're worthless, you're not good enough, and you should kill yourself. And then I'm standing there with them and Justin goes, if we knew, 8-10 years later, you're going to be the youngest heavyweight in the UFC, we would have never bullied you, bro, ever. And I'm just like, wow, because now I could beat you up. You would have treated me better. You would have been a kind soul. You would have been a gracious person. You would have been you'd have been a good dude if you knew I could have whooped you, if there was a punishment associated with it. But anyways, like, I don't know why I went into that story so deep, except for it's really helped form me and shape me and give me a heart of compassion for people. That's why our vision statement with fight for the forgotten is defeat hate with love.
So with that, like you have people that would be some of the hardest people to forgive. Right. And forgiveness is a gift that you give yourself.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a gift that you're giving them. And I think a lot of people get that wrong. Oh, I'm going to forgive you. That's a gift to you. Yeah, sure. But really the forgiveness is a gift to yourself. So you don't have to hold that anger and hold that rage inside yourself.
Forgiveness, give that gift to yourself.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so do you feel like you've gotten to that place where you've gotten and found the gratitude for the pressure that they put you under that's made you who you are, and then ultimately gotten to a place of forgiveness? Because that would be a hard motherfucking thing to do.
I have this year, and it's been literally a 10-year journey of forgiveness. Because it was a year or two later after that moment that like I had this big shift in my life. I started Fight for the Forgotten in 2011. It's 2020. Wow. That's wild. And yeah, man, I'm really grateful now, but I think Sedona had a lot to do with that. And seeing people actually suffer, which obviously we all suffer. It's the human experience. We're going to suffer. Like that's guaranteed.
Well, and what's interesting is, so we'll go into Fight for the Forgotten. We'll talk about Sedona too. I definitely want to talk about that and a little bit more about your fight career, but let's go in that order. So the Fight for the Forgotten really is it's you championing the underdogs. I mean, the Pygmies are a race of people that have been bullied by everybody that's around them because they're literally smaller.
Yeah. Anthropologists call them the most oppressed people group on planet Earth. If there's one group that's the most oppressed, it's them. And so that's the most bullied.
So therein you see that, the one who was bullied in the most horrific way. I've never heard a story worse than the one you just told, in person. Yeah. And then you go find the people that have been the most bullied in the world, and you go there to help them. I mean, it's really interesting through line from your past.
Well, maybe I need to tell you a vision story real quick.
Sure.
I think you'd probably dig that. So I've had two visions in my life. I might have time to share both of them. But both were sober, not plant medicine or any sort of psychedelic induced or conjured up. It's actually 11 months sober. And this was at 23 years old. And I was a depressed, drunk drug addict where I was dying of my addiction and depression. And I was a shell of myself, although on the outside, everything was looking good.
UFC career.
Yeah. Youngest guy at the highest level. Every Sports Illustrated, ESPN, like all these places, I'm on TMZ right after Lindsay Lohan, right before Honey Boo Boo, prime real estate on TV. Good company to keep. But I'm literally a missing person for 8 weeks because I'm off on a binge. No one knows where I am. I'm supposed to be helping Shane Carwin train for Brock Lesnar. His main training partner. What's that?
That's why he lost.
That's why he lost. I do have a nasty arm triangle like that. And I wasn't there to help. But no, Shane's incredible. So is Brendan. Yeah. I was main training partners with Brendan and Shane.
That's awesome.
And Rashad. And anyways, the team had to ask me to leave. They had to kick me off the team. A year later, they asked me back on. But, after the Ultimate Fighter, they're like, we want you to come be part of this team. Train with guys that were literally on my walls as a kid. Like I have their posters on my wall when I'm 13, 14, 15 years old. Now I'm main training partners with them or going to the house for cookouts and hanging out with these UFC champions, and a pretty surreal moments. But I remember getting my hand raised and thinking like, is this it? Is this all? Like I was being driven by hate or driven by wanting to be accepted and only feeling like this is my identity and this is my value and my worth to society and this world is like who I am as a fighter.
Right.
Win or lose, I had an excuse to use. And so 8 weeks, I get a voicemail from my best friend. My mailbox is full, and the one that was most recent, that was the longest and probably took up the most space, was like an 8-minute voicemail from my best friend. 8 minutes. Who leaves 8-minute voicemail? And this was before they like cut them off and before you have that setting or something. And I have like 80 voicemails, an 8-minute voice message, the last one. And he says, this is how it starts. I can't believe you missed my wedding. I can't believe my best man didn't show up. And I was that far gone on the drugs that I crushed a dude I only wanted to love and like left this dark cloud over his most beautiful day his wedding day, right? And so as a hurt person who could only hurt people that I only wanted to love, and I couldn't help but hurt him. And so that was really hard pill to swallow, and I probably should have gone to rehab then, but I didn't. I had a spiritual experience. I say God loved the hell out of me, blessed the mess out of me so I could just love others. What I found out was it's one thing to fight against people, but it's a whole other thing to fight for people. And that brought me fulfillment.
Oh.
And so at 23, I started helping. I heard a quote, "No act of kindness, no matter how small, ever goes wasted." Which I love that quote. And I don't know who said it, maybe Aristotle or Socrates, something like that. And I was just like, that. Whatever that is, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start small. So I was in Denver. I got kicked off my fight team. Brendan was part of it. They literally took a vote, and it was 32 or 33-1. Trevor Whitman, if you know Trevor, Coach T, Justin Gaethje's coach, Rashad, Rose Namajunas, Brendan, Shane, Nate Marquardt, those kind of guys, Dwayne Bain, Gludwig. T was the only one that voted for me to stay. They're like, we just got to get him to treatment. We got to do something to support him. And then he brought me in his office just like, I can't go against the entire team. Can't go against Brendan, Shane, Dwayne, all these guys. Elliot Marshall, if you know him. Anyways, like a who's who of like guys that I looked up to and loved and admired and appreciated said like, you can't be here. Like you're too toxic. So that was a tough pill to swallow. And my childhood dream that became a reality is now being ripped away from me. And I can't even live my dream that's turned into a nightmare. Yeah. Like I'm losing that.
It seems like there was some aspect of you that was so conditioned to not being loved and not being worthy and not being, like some part of you felt like you didn't deserve it probably on the inside. And so the self-sabotage to create the situation where they would actually treat you in the way that you were treating yourself.
Yeah.
Like we always want to find accord with the world. And that's why self-love is so important in those practices, because we will find and create a situation that mirrors the way that we feel about ourselves, because that's what's the most comfortable. Otherwise there's dissonance. If we hate ourselves, but people love us, we're like, this feels wrong. Yeah. Something is off here. So we either have to figure out then to love ourselves the way that people love us, or we actually do something to get people to treat us in the way that we're treating ourselves. And, that's the classic, impetus for all of the self-sabotage. And so that's, the reality that you created at that point.
That's powerful. Because that's what happened. And it was weird because it would always have to be like a mountaintop experience. I would have a massive crash. Almost like
I didn't feel like you deserved to be on that mountaintop. I was good enough. Yeah, you're like, well, I'm on a fucking mountaintop. This feels wrong. Let me go back down in the gutter.
Let me crash and burn. Let me tank. That's wild to think about, man. I'll probably need to go to counseling and talk to my counselor about it. I do that. I go once a week and I love it. Yeah. It's helped a lot the last 3 years.
But you had a vision. So let's go right
dive
there.
Into the vision. So yeah, I literally, I started working at the Denver Children's Hospital, became an official volunteer there. And what was so cool about that, bro, is I did it for about 9-10 months and like really immersed myself in it. Went through night school to become an official volunteer, wheeled the kids around in the wheelchairs and just went from room to room and had a blast for over 6 months. And I do that every week, sometimes multiple times a week. And eventually I did a big thing with the UFC, I believe, and HDNet, or just some MMA like journalism stuff. And they came out and filmed because I had Rashad come, Brendan come, Shane come, Dwayne come, Coach T, Justin Gaethje. And we went around and visited these children at the children's hospital. And dude, they lit up. Some of them were playing the UFC video games when we would walk in with some of the guys they're playing with, right? And just blew the kids away. But then I helped at the rescue mission, at-risk youth group, and just had my head on a swivel looking to make a difference somewhere. Like, I think we have a bullying prevention curriculum that we created, and we have in martial arts academies, and it's free right now because of COVID, especially, like helping equip them to have an online resource to still teach their kids.
Yeah.
And we instruct instructors how to instruct this curriculum. It's called Heroes in Waiting. And basically, what's a hero? The premise is just basically a hero is someone who sees a need and takes action. Mm-hmm. They don't need a cape or superhuman strength. They need a compassionate heart, a humble heart. That's what a hero has. They just do the next right thing. They just see a need, take action.
Yep.
This is the right thing to do. So anyways, I am kind of all over the place, and I basically say a prayer, and I wasn't a praying dude, meditating dude. I wasn't any of that. And, but I needed an answer, and I was hungry to hear something, if that makes sense. Like my soul was craving it, and I desired it. I needed it. I had to have it. And I said a prayer by myself and said, God, what do you want me to do with my life? That's all I said, literally completely sober. And I'm taken in this vision, and I'm in the rainforest, and I'm walking down a footpath, and then I hear drumming. And I'm literally clearing vines and thickets out of the way, and I'm on this footpath that's barely wide enough for my feet. It's like a smaller footpath. And I'm going through this massive, thick, lush jungle. And then I get closer, I hear singing, very distinct singing, like almost like a yodeling, a tribal yodeling. And then I get into this clearing, and I see these twig and leaf huts. I see these huts, and I meet these people, and the first person I see, I don't talk with them or anything, but I see him and kind of meet him. He's coughing, and his ribs are poking out, and he's starving. I know that he's sick, and that he's hungry, and that he's thirsty, and that he's poor. He's oppressed. I knew that he was enslaved.
Yeah.
I just knew it. And I came out of that vision and felt like they were forgotten, that they felt forgotten by God and forgotten by people, that they were the forgotten people. So I wrote on top of a piece of paper, forgotten. And under that I wrote, hungry, thirsty, poor, sick, oppressed, enslaved. And I felt nuts. I cried that much, like a puddle, a little, whatever you call that, grandma's cookie size puddle. And I wept for these people that I didn't know who they were, where they were, and I was actually confused by it. I actually felt a little crazy, was really questioning myself. Did I just have some sort of psychotic break, or like some sort of, this was such a psychedelic experience that was so real, not even psychedelic. It was like it happened. It wasn't something where I was observing. It was something I was there. It was so real, so vivid. And when I came back out of that vision, like it broke me, bro. And I was confused because I was just limited knowledge. Like I thought rainforest, Amazon, like Brazilians, Peruvians, or I thought India, or I thought like Thailand or Asia, but I didn't think Africa. But the people in my vision clearly had dark skin. They were black. And I was like, who are these smaller people with darker skin who are so oppressed and hated? And I didn't communicate with them. I just had this knowledge about them. Well, bro, I tell a guy 3 days later, his name's Caleb, and he had wrote a book with Bear Grylls, and like he was a survivalist and humanitarian, and he lived with or visited the Vanuatu people who invented bungee jumping. Yeah. They build the platforms, they tie vines around their feet, they jump, they choose one person from the family.
The bungee doesn't pull them back up.
No.
It just barely keeps them from fucking smashing on the ground.
Yeah, it's nuts. You guys should look this up later, because
it's one of the rites of passage. And the braver you are is how long you cut your bungee so that you just hit the ground a little bit.
Yeah, if you hit your head and die, you were cursed. If you don't hit your head, you were a coward and you're cursed. And if you hit your head and you survive, your yam harvest is going to be blessed.
And you get whatever girl is watching.
Oh,
and they're like, oh, wow.
You better.
He's the man.
Yeah. I'm going to cut the cord real close. I don't know. I try to impress the village ladies, but anyways,
I'm going to cut the cord real short and then go fucking be a good hunter or something.
There you go.
Be like, fuck this.
Be a master hunter.
Yeah,
provider.
Like, whatever.
There you go.
Y'all don't want this meat?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
I'm not going to fucking crush my neck.
Yeah. I don't need to be a farmer. I can go hunt. I'll go get the meat.
Yeah.
You get the sweet meat from the forest. And anyway, so I have this vision, and Caleb also with that book, he lived with the Maasai people, the Maasai, and he was who I went with, and I was given that warrior spear. Anyways, I tell Caleb this vision, and whenever I finish, I thought I was never going to tell a soul about this vision, because I thought, like, this is too out there. It's a little crazy. I would think if someone told me they had this vision that they're a little nuts. So it's just a little, you know, I'd be accepting and open-minded, but I would just be like, huh, okay. So I never experienced this in this life and knew that this kind of life existed, if that makes sense. And I never had anything like it since for 10 years. But I tell Caleb, he smiles, he leans in, he nods his head. I'm like, what is going on? Like he was tracking with me with the vision. He was following me. And I stopped. I go, what? He goes, I know who they are. And I go, what? He goes, those are the Mabuti Pygmy people, or the Pygmy people. They live in the Congo Basin rainforest in like 9 African countries. I've been to 2 of them. I've met them. And if there's anyone that's forgotten in this world, it's the Pygmies. He goes, and I'm blown away. He said, I was supposed to go back in 3.5 weeks from now. But my wife asked me yesterday if I could say a prayer, which is unique for her, and if I would cancel my trip unless I had a sign. He goes, the reason is the rebels just took over the airport, the 1 million person city we're flying into. They're beheading people in the streets. They're cannibalizing the Pygmies. They're hunting them in the forest, killing them, cooking them, and eating their flesh, thinking that if they go into battle, that bullets will fly right through them, that's what the witch doctors say. And he goes, the 3 people I was taking with me all canceled their trip yesterday or today because their husbands, their fathers, and the U.S. State Department says for no reason whatsoever should any American go there. You're on your own. And so his wife asked him, said, you're married, we have a newborn. Like, I think this trip might not be in the cards for you unless you're supposed to go. So he says a prayer, then we meet, and I just had the vision, I think the day he prayed. And then all of a sudden he goes, look, bro, if you had a vision, if you go, I'll go. I'm like, what? You just told me how wild it is, crazy it is. There's no place to fly into. Like, what are we going to do? He goes, we'll figure it out when we get to Uganda. I mean, we'll figure out how to get to Congo from Uganda. Like, just once we get there, we'll meet a pilot. He goes, yeah. I was like, what? And so I told him, I don't know, man. I need to think about this. And he said, the one thing I know you need to hear right now is if you don't go, you'll never know. You'll always question, what if? I was like, whew.
Powerful words.
Right? What if? And me, even before I met Caleb and before I had this vision, and while I was fighting and just selfish about myself, you know, like my goals, my dreams, we're just living in that darkness. I don't think I was ever totally selfish, but I wasn't totally, and I'm still not totally selfless, but I try to strive for that, you know? But man, I always thought my greatest fear would be being on my deathbed at an older age and wonder, have all the ideas or the goals or the dreams or the people that I was supposed to help, the impact I was supposed to make, like the ghost or the things I should have brought to life and didn't, that are dying with me, that only I could have brought to life or only you could have brought to life. Like,
Right.
That's my worst fear.
Yeah.
And
Leaving those if onlys and what ifs on the
Yeah.
table, you know,
Yeah.
like those are the things that'll eat you up.
Yeah.
It's not the ones like, oh yeah, I tried that, got my ass kicked, didn't work. Like, you don't regret those.
No,
you know,
'cause you
those
tried.
you tried. And like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that are like, I wonder what would have happened if I did this.
Right.
What
I
if?
wonder what would have happened.
Yeah.
So that I'll try to condense this story because I do want to mention Sedona. But dude, 3.5 weeks later, Caleb, Colin, and I. Colin's a buddy of mine who, if someone looks up my book, Fight for the Forgotten, the cover photo, like on the cover of the book, was my first hour in the Congo, and it was completely candid. And it was at an orphanage where all of their parents were either murdered by the rebel groups or had died of HIV. So these kids that are crawling on me like a human jungle gym, which I loved. I'm like walking and there's like 3 or 4 kids hanging off me and like 10 around me or something. And it's just a gorgeous photo of those kids' bright smiles, you know? And I don't even explain it in the book that that's where we were. That's what happened to their parents, that these kids have HIV. Like they've been dealt the toughest hand in the world. They don't have clean water. They're they're sick. Just horrific. But bro, I've never had so much joy with some kids before than I have in the forest and with the Pygmies and with these orphans. And so anyways, we land on this rainforest runway that we were literally circling the runway for 20 minutes. And the pilot's like, if we can't land soon, we're going to have to turn back to Uganda. But literally the whole village came and they're using machetes to clear the runway for us so we can land, because they don't know when the last time a plane landed there was.
Wow.
They said it was over a decade. And we land there. We get in a truck. We go for 6 to 8 hours. We got on motorcycles, go for an hour or two through the rainforest on these little footpaths. Then we get in a dugout canoe from a tree and we go across this river with crocodiles and hippos. And I'm like, where are we? Like, I never had a plan to go to Africa. Maybe a safari one day. I never wanted to go visit a tribe or anything like that, but I was just called to it, had a vision for it. And we go across the river. Dude, the people that are taking us across the river can't swim. I'm like, we're in a pygmy sized canoe, not a big pygmy sized canoe. We got our gear, our tents, all this stuff. We get out, we hike for about an hour or two after we probably 30 minutes or an hour. So dude, the journey, right? I mean, people think going from Australia to the US is crazy, like 36 minutes or something. And, or 36 hours, right? They think that's a long time. And to get there, to go to Congo, I mean, you're taking 5 or 6 planes. You're getting a private plane or like a charter plane with just 3-seater, 4-seater, landing on a grass runway. You're all this crazy stuff, right? And we get out, we're walking, and all of a sudden we hear drumming. We're clearing thickets and vines out of the way. Our guide and translator has machetes that's clearing the path for us. I mean, people have walked this before, but it gets thicker, right? So you have to clear it. We hear drumming, then we hear singing. We come into a clearing, bro. First guy we meet, his ribs are poking out. He's coughing. Same person from the vision.
So
he's got tuberculosis.
What does this mean about the world to you?
I
Like,
still am trying to understand
this
it.
can't be, this is beyond the realm of coincidence, right? So you're someone who's, I really give credit to, like, anybody can listen to your vision and it won't really land for them, because it will land a little bit. They'll be like, wow, that's an amazing story. Yep. But when this happens to you and it was your vision and you know it to be true, then at that point you have to say, now there's things about the world that I have to adjust my worldview to understand.
Oh, yeah.
There's some mechanism at play which makes it possible for me to have a vision of a potential future reality if I make the choice to go. And it will be exactly as it is. And then it will be the kind of direction that my life purpose was meant to go. So what the fuck is that? Right? Like, have you just really sat and pondered what that means about the world?
I'm about to. I need to, because bro, it blew me away. I was speechless. Not only was I speechless, I'll tell you what I physically did, because we get into the vision. Even me just saying that is kind of crazy. We get into the vision.
Right. Me
and these 2 other guys, which Caleb was about to cancel his trip. Colin had no freaking clue about it. And in 3.5 weeks, we step into the vision that I told them about, that they've seen the paper. I wrote it down. I tell them it. And all of a sudden they're experiencing it freaking with me, bro.
All right, so here's my shot at it.
Real fast. I want to hear your shot.
Yeah.
But just my physical thing. I literally I went into a full squat, put my elbows on my knees, hands on my face, and I'm looking out, speechless. My jaw's literally opened, like, and I take a knee because Caleb and Colin are grabbing my traps on both sides or my shoulders. And they're literally both so stoked and excited and blown away, almost speechless, to where all they could say was, "This is your vision. This is your vision."
You're like, I know.
And I'm like, I look up at them, I look out, I'm just like, it's happening. We're here. We are here. Be here now, right? Like, we're present in the vision that I told you guys about. And I couldn't explain it. And so I want to hear your shot at it, but that's just physically what happened to me, where I was like, I couldn't stand. I was weak in the knees.
What's interesting is I just did a podcast with Matthew McConaughey, who wrote in his book Green Lights. He had a vision where he was floating down a river, which was like the Amazon. And then there was an African tribesman on the side.
What?
And what was interesting is he had a wet dream in that. It was a dream, sorry, not a vision, but it was a dream. And for whatever reason, he ejaculated as a grown man who's had plenty of wild sexual experiences at Chateau Marmont, and he had a wet dream and woke up with his vision, and it was so powerful. First, he went down and floated the Amazon, and it was an incredibly powerful spiritual, like life-giving experience where he lived that vision. And then he went to Africa to find it, had an unbelievable experience with the doggone people in Africa. Wow. And so
where are they at again?
I'm not even sure, but they have like a lot of myths about how they came from the stars, and like it's a very interesting thing that he found, but it was hard to get to for sure.
I know someone that knows them somehow.
Yeah. So anyways, these things are happening, these dreams, and he had that dream twice. So the first time he floated the Amazon, and then he had the same dream, also wet dream with the African people.
Crazy.
And he was like, oh, I got to go see I went and did the river, but they were African people. Now I got to go to Africa. These things are completely implausible.
Yeah.
Like for the normal worldview, for the normal paradigm. So what does this mean? And I think that the only thing that makes sense to me in my stab at it, and who knows, right? Like but our souls or our consciousness is connected to the collective and somehow connected to a timeline of what our potential is and what we need. And it's like it's conspiring with the knowledge of these specific people, of this specific place, of the earth itself, of that river itself. It's connected to the collective consciousness of all beings, including the inanimate beings that we think don't have spirits. But the moment you take ayahuasca, you realize everything has a spirit.
Wow.
And it's connected in such a way that it's all conspiring. It's like they're all sitting down at a kitchen table and they're like, hey, soul of Matthew McConaughey, or hey, soul of Justin Wren. And it's the man with the ribs, and it's the land itself, and it's the people that are like, hey man, like we could really use your help. So how do we do this? And soul's like, all right, I got it. When he's ready, when he's open, we'll drop in a vision, and that'll give him the opportunity. And of course, there's free will. There's a chance he had to go make the choice to get on that raft and float the Amazon and go to the people. You had to make the choice to fly into this, resistance-ridden, revolution, renegade place. You had to make the choice, but ultimately, you have to understand at that point that our soul, or whatever you want to call it, something that's connected to the collective, is conspiring with the entire world to put you in the right place at the right time, which means there's benevolent forces acting on our behalf at all times.
That's so
you
wild.
have to really believe that the benevolence of the universe is working with you and conspiring for you.
Wow.
Whether we want to acknowledge it or not, it's fucking happening. And we just have to get open enough. You had to say that prayer to open the channel.
Step into that flow.
And then make the choice.
And go.
And make the choice.
Make the choice. Yeah. Bro, my life would be so different. I don't think, I want to say I would still be here, but I don't think it would be. Without purpose, without passion, without a mentor of mine who's also one of our biggest donors, A Fight for the Forgotten, he asked me a question once and it made me think. We were just talking. And he goes, Justin, let me ask you a question. Are you wanting to be a man of success or a man of significance? Have you ever asked yourself that? And I go, wow, no, I haven't. And he said, well, you should ask yourself. He goes, the reason, he's 80 years old. His name's Roger Almond, and he sold his company for $80 million, something like that. Incredible guy. Still lives in the same house that he married his wife in 50 years ago, or 60. I think it was freaking 60. We celebrated their anniversary, either 50 or 60th. Anyways, he goes, because I believe that if you become a man of success, you might miss being a man of significance if that's what you're striving for. But he goes, but I believe that if you become a man of significance, success follows. Just be someone that is a significant addition to this world and to people around you. And success comes. He goes, but don't strive for success and miss being a significant part of the community, this world, and this life. And yeah, man, it blew me away. I mean, the first night we were there, before we took that 6-8 hour drive into the rainforest, and we needed a shower, we needed to rest up. Bro, we stayed in a little motel, like a mud hut, basically, in this town in the forest. I think I had 8 bullet holes in my freaking walls, in my door. Like, when I woke up, because we got there when it was dark, I knew there was holes in the wall, but it wasn't until the morning that the sunshine started coming through the bullet holes. Can you picture that? Where like rays of sunshine are hitting your floor through the walls and the door because there's bullet holes there. And I'm like, where am I? What am I doing? But bro, it gave me such a life to live for. It literally gave me a life to live for. And so after that happened, I literally, the 2-3 weeks we were there, I literally was just beat up, spirit broken, heart crushed, felt demoralized, because now I'm seeing human suffering to a level I never knew existed.
Even more suffering than you'd gone through in your own life.
Without a doubt.
Perspective.
Yeah. And like, as much as I think I can put myself in their shoes through my context of my story and the way that I felt oppressed or forgotten or bullied, downtrodden, bro, I can't even compare to the suffering they have. But at the same time, I couldn't then compare to the amount of true, real joy that they own. I've never said that before, but I see your cover there. Own the day, right? Own your life. Mm-hmm. Own the day, own your life. Bro, they own the joy that like is present in their life because they have each other through community, through tribe. Bro, they say a Swahili proverb that I love. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And they say, like, we need each other. It takes a village to raise a child, right? But they also say it takes a village to bury a child. That was my first introduction to the water crisis, was holding a little boy named Andy Bo, cupping the back of his head, holding his little hand. And his mom's hand was on the back of my hand. She's on the other side of me, sitting across. We're in the twig leaf hut, and he takes his last breath. Blood comes out of his ears and onto my hands. And I'm looking across at his mother, like I'm looking across at you, and we'd have Andy Bo right between us, right? And I knew she already lost her husband because of dirty water. She already lost her other son because of dirty water. She just lost Andy Bo because of dirty water. And I'm looking over at her, cross at her, and she's not wearing a shirt. It's just common in the village. And I can count every single rib down her sternum because she's starving and she's sick. And she's got an inflated belly just like Andy Bo, just like corpse does, because they have all these parasites in them from dirty water. And bro, it broke me. It crushed me. I wept. I cried. I literally had his blood on my hands when I started digging his grave. And they had just named me Efeosa. Efeosa means the man who loves us. And then I grabbed the shovel because I'm like, I'm a big, strong guy, capable. They need to mourn. So the community came together, which now I had been invited in on, adopted in on, and they named me Efeosa Mabutimang Bo. And so Efeosa, the man who loves us, and then Mabutimang Bo, the big pygmy. So that's why I go by that, is I couldn't promise them land, couldn't promise them water, couldn't promise them food. I'm not going to make false promises. I'm not going to get people's hopes up and not deliver. I'm not going to tell them, yeah, I'll come do this and not come back and do it. I didn't know how to do it. So, but the chief looked at me and said, everyone else, this is where the vision came full circle. Chief pulls us over on the last day and says, everyone else calls us the forest people, but we call ourselves the forgotten. When he said forgotten, like I remember tears filling up in my eyes to where it was hard to see him. Like he was blurry because the tears welled up in my eyes. And Caleb and Colin put their hands on my shoulder because the day before I asked them, I need confirmation that I'm supposed to dedicate my life to this. Like, are you kidding? What more do you need? You had a vision and it happened. We're here, like we're right here because of this vision. And I'm like, I don't know. It's been overwhelming. the devastation, the destruction, the oppression. I go, man, I just don't know that. I told him this. I go, the vision I got is I could spend my whole life trying to help, trying to make an impact. And the vision I got, or visual, I do a lot of visualization, like for fighting, right? So I can see things in my mind, but like, that was like through practice.
Right.
This just happened. And I didn't practice or try to conjure up a vision. It just was. And I remember them saying, Justin, like, this couldn't have just happened. And I go, I know, I just need something. Because the visual I got, guys, this is the day before I left for my first trip. I could spend my whole life trying. It's like emptying the ocean with an eyedropper. Like, is it going to matter? Would I even notice? Not would anyone else even notice. Would I even notice? Would the collective, with my creator, would they even notice that I was there, right, and that I helped? Because if I get something that tells me it'll matter, like, I'll dedicate my life to this. I just need a confirmation. And they thought I was crazy, but Caleb said a prayer for me that night that I would have a sign. The chief the next day says to Caleb and Colin standing by me, but he says to me, everyone else calls us the forest people. We call ourselves the forgotten. He goes, we don't have a voice. Can you help us have one? He's not looking at Caleb or Colin. He's looking directly at me. Can you help us have one? He gave me the one tangible thing, the one practical thing I could say yes to, the platform that I had through fighting that I just recently discovered, or just being an American, like having free speech and stuff. Like, I can come talk on behalf of them,
right?
Share their story, their message. So I cried and I teared up. I said yes. I said yes, but my soul, I think, screamed yes.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'll do. This is what I can do. And
so then you founded, and I'm going to speed this up just so we can get to some other areas, but definitely. You founded Fight for the Forgotten. Yeah. You've been out there digging wells. How many wells is your organization?
I think we just completed 73.
73 wells, and that's
providing water to over 60,000 people daily.
It's incredible.
Every day.
You know, one of the things that really has bothered me about the way that the world has handled this lockdown situation is I did a little bit of research, and there was a couple different organizations that estimate the cost it would take to provide clean water for every people of the world.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've drilled 73 wells, 60,000 people served. I mean, how much money has the organization raised in order to be able to do that roughly? I know that's going to be a hard accounting to do.
I mean, it's since 2011, but it's 7 figures.
Yeah. So some millions of dollars.
Yeah.
The estimations are that it would take about $120 billion to get clean water for the whole world.
That's so wild. We could do it so fast.
We just did a $2 trillion bailout like this. We just made that money appear out of nowhere because we were locked down. We just made $2 trillion. So, and it would take a fraction of that to get clean water for the whole world. And then all of these millions of people would have clean water forever because the wells are self-sustaining.
3.4 billion people from dying, million people, 3.4 million people from dying every year. 2 million children under the age of 5 years old.
And that's 2 million antibos. People don't have this perspective of like, we're just creating money. We're depreciating all of the money that's actually the resource that we earn, and we're creating it. We could just decide that if we all decided, regardless, whatever, if we want to lock down, we want to create this money today, but we could just do that now. Like, we just proved that we could create $2 trillion out of nothing, out of thin air, and we could just go,
how much more is that than the 120 billion, like percentage wise? How many times could we end the water crisis?
Exactly. Like 18 times more, something like that, or 16 times more.
We could end the water crisis 18 times.
Yeah.
Like what we just created.
Like that. And that's just a fraction
of what we're actually spending. That's literally the biggest bully on planet Earth is the water crisis, because to me, it preys on the weakest, most vulnerable, susceptible children in the world. And these children are put up against this field of giants that have names like E. coli or cholera or typhoid or some sort of crazy parasite that I've had that they live with every day. And it's just wild, man, to think about that. But the thing is that 120 billion or 80 billion, whatever it was, could fix it. But it's got to be done in a slower, more sustainable way that's practical for the people that need it the most. Because it's not every community is a what do you call that? Like a blueprint or a cookie cutter solution. they have to be, so what we do, why we don't have 700 wells in 9 years is because we empower the locals. So we equip them with the tools, we educate them with the knowledge, and then we empower them to be the change they want to see in their own community, their own country. So it's countrymen changing countrymen or their own country, because they have pride in that.
Sure, and it gives them that sense of purpose and that worth when they're a part of digging the wells. I mean, there's the right way to do it, and then there's the way that would be helpful.
The only reason I brought that up was because there's over 230,000 broken wells in Africa right now, billions of wasted charitable dollars, because they went in, they had a quota, they had a mission, a vision, all the right reasons, the great intent, the good heart, but they didn't see that. There's a great book called When Helping Hurts. And it just talks about like the long-lasting repercussions of well-intentioned charity that's improperly implemented.
I saw that when I went to Africa, because I was part of a group that was going there in the slums of the Soweto slum in Kenya and in Uganda and different places. And obviously the HIV and the AIDS had taken away a lot of the fathers in there, and also the war, and also the genocides and different civil unrest, all of these different reasons. There was a whole batch of kids, that particularly young men, that were growing up without any kind of discipline or father figure, and they were getting going into gangs and different things, whatever they could do. And so this group went in to teach them traditional martial arts. Now, I'm not a master in traditional martial arts, but I've studied enough martial arts since I was 5 years old. It actually ended, unfortunately. It was called MAV, Men Against Violence and Victimization. But unfortunately it didn't last. But it was a beautiful idea, and we did some good out there. We would just go there and we would stand up and just run them through some kata and run them through some discipline and some
people
basic
probably
meditation.
Still doing that there.
Yeah, and it was a really beautiful kind of concept. But what I also saw there was that while we were there, because we were an organization and we had some money, that was ready to deploy, we also built like a little hospital. The best and brightest Africans that I saw were the ones that were trying to get grant money. They weren't actually trying to, implement necessarily the most productive thing for their community. They realized that the best way for them to get ahead, the best way for them to get access to resources, for them to actually move and advance with upward mobility, was to be clever enough to get grant money. And so I kind of recognize that when you have that much money coming in and it's available, it's just we're creating a game in which we're gamifying the ones who can get the grant money rather than gamifying the way that they can actually help and allowing them and supporting them to really help their community in the best way. So it was a weird dynamic of, yes, we want to help, but we got to be mindful of how we help.
You have to be mindful, and you have to be careful every step of the way. You have to include the community in on it. Say, is this culturally sound? Is this something you want, desire? Would you take the reins and make it yours? Would you own it? Would you protect it, care for it, nurture it? And when they have buy-in, dude, the sky's the limit of change, transformation.
And that the people that you empower to do that are genuinely not corrupt and are going to actually serve the people in the best way.
I think one of the greatest gifts that I haven't really acknowledged from the vision is that the vision took out a lot of the BS. I went straight to the people that were suffering, right? And most of the people that you're talking about writing the grants, or that's what they get sucked into, that's what they learn, how they can get resources. And a lot of these nonprofits that start up over here raise so much money, have so much money to give, but truly the impact, dollar for dollar, what they do, you don't see it as much, like what it could really do. And the reason is because it's like this pyramid. And the people from the West go to those brightest, brilliant people that know how to game the system that you're talking about at the top of the pyramid. And it never really trickles down to the people at the bottom that need it the most. So what happened with the vision was it brought me straight to those people that needed the most. And if you can change there, and they're at the bottom, the foundation, you change that, it trickles upwards. And the people at the top then notice, oh, what's going on here? Because these people are having their lives transformed and changed. And And then those high up corrupt government officials start coming to us saying, how do we get involved with what you're doing in our community? Because we need this.
Right.
Which was really cool because we've seen 1,651 people in Congo and now in Uganda transition out of a life of actual slavery and into freedom with over 3,000 acres of land that we bought back in their name. So we buy it back in the name of the Pygmy people, the strongest thing in African courts is being bought in the name of a tribe. And then started 4 sustainable farms, over 70 wells, like empowering them so they can be the change they want to see in their community. And bro, I've seen miracles happen where start with one kid that was devastating, and I forever want to like honor his legacy of his 1.5-year-old life that then has now changed over 60,000 people's lives.
Yeah.
And story has gone out to millions of people.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
And yeah.
I want to go talk a little bit about community because when I was in Kenya, in the Soweto slums, for people who don't know, it's one of the gnarliest slums in the whole world. I mean, there are people in shanty aluminum shacks in these kind of like rolling, like undulating, not hills, but they're like gradients and things. And there's no bathrooms, there's no septic, there's no anything. So
well, just
the
they
sewage
throw it out in the street.
Yeah, the sewage just runs down. And if you're downhill in a shack, you got the sewage that's running. They do their best, but there's sewage just running through the bottom of their. I mean, it's one of the gnarliest situations. But to see the joy, as you said, in the kids. I mean, there was like an old tattered soccer ball, and like we reckoned they were like kicking it around. It was like kind of flat, so we acquired a couple balls and a football, and we were playing. And the joy that they had from that, and just they were already joyful, but then they had this. And it was like Christmas times 100. Like you go to a Christmas here in the West and people are just ripping open presents like, There you get like one good Nerf football.
For the village.
And they're like fired up and they're chanting and singing and everybody's like so happy and just the joy. But really all of that comes from, even with their distended bellies and the struggles they're going through, they're in a community. They feel like a sense of belonging and a sense of like, these are my brothers and sisters. And when you have that, it's almost like it's so much more important than we give credence to. We think that we need all of this material things to make us happy. We don't. We need tribe. We need other people. And whatever we're going through, that's Sebastian Junger's book, Tribe, like where he talks about in the most challenging situations, when people feel like they have tribe, they're happier than in the most affluent, comfortable situations because we need each other. We need to be able to share our vulnerable truth, to allow people to see the absolute rawest truth of who we are and to see them and to feel held and to feel like we have people who are there for us and with us.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what I learned most from the Pygmy people, living with them. Because I lived there for a year at one time, slept in the twig leaf huts. So the huts are only about 4.5, 5 feet tall. So the ceiling is 5 foot tall inside. And if I sleep straight, sometimes, depending on what hut I was in, what village, like my feet would be outside of the hut some. Like it's not even 6 feet long inside. And it's you only go inside the hut to sleep. I mean, or to rest because you're not feeling well or it's hot out and take a nap. But literally you go in whenever it's dark, you come out right whenever the sun starts coming up. And then you might take a midday rest in there. And anyways, they have a few Swahili proverbs that I absolutely love with community. I told you if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together because this life's a marathon, not a sprint. But they also have a few others that I really love, which is if you think you're too small to make a difference, try to sleep in a closed room with a mosquito. Or they say if you think you're too small to make a difference, try to sleep in a hut with a mosquito. And it's tongue in cheek, but it's so true. Man, I almost died of malaria. I've had it 3 times, but I almost died the first time. And the last time gave me cerebral malaria. So I had parasites in my brain. First time I had 65 to 70% of my bloodstream were parasites. I had lost my peripheral vision. I had black water fever. So I couldn't urinate for 5 days. 5 days, couldn't pee. When I finally did, it was the darkest black coffee or motor oil that you've ever seen. It was sticky, and it was like parasites that had eaten my red blood cells and like pooped out my red blood cell. Like that's what I was like in my body. 65 to 70% of my body was this black goo, black water fever. I think 50% of people that get it die, maybe 25%. It's on Google that way at least, and I almost died from it. So the only reason I say that is if a mosquito can make that much of a difference in my life, an insect that we don't think really has a brain and, thoughts and compassion, or if that mosquito can make that much of a difference, that doesn't even weigh a gram, can take out my body, 265 pounds, which I can fight a 6'10" guy on the Ultimate Fighter and choke him unconscious. But this mosquito kicks my ass. How much more of a difference can you make in someone's life, or a community's life, or Austin, or Texas, or the United States, or this world?
Yeah.
How much more of a difference whenever we come together as a collective tribe and community? How much more of a difference can we make when we're united in a path, like you're saying, have those souls having conversations, saying, we need to go, when Justin's ready, we need to go give him this vision, just drop a vision in his lap or in his brain, soul, and then see what happens. See if he says yes or no.
Yep.
And so that's what happened with me in Fit for Service, bro. Like I was lacking. I was homesick for that community, that tribe that I had over there.
That had a consequence, because that, the story about your, near suicidal attempt, that wasn't your last suicide attempt. You'd already started the fight for the forgotten. You'd had your sense of purpose, but still deep inside you was something that was missing. So tell us about that, most recent dark moment before then, because this is something you shared with the Fit for Service community. It was really beautiful how you shared it.
Thanks.
But yeah, I mean, there was obviously still something lacking, something not healed that drove you to, an attempt to take your life again.
Sure. Yeah. So at 13, I was suicidal, fought it off for 10 years, attempted it though at 23. Miraculously made it. And 10 years later, I lived this beautiful life that I was able to help quite a few people, and at least strive to, and think it really did make an impact. But still, there was this missing link, and I think it was self-love and community and tribe. Like I was living here, my health and some other things like just kept me from truly living in Africa with the people I love the most. And it was like I didn't feel at home here. Super strange feeling when you connect with a tribe and the closest people you have in your life, you don't even truly speak the same language as. You have the same heart language, and you can live there, sit around the fire. They call it Campfire University. It's where the Pygmies would take us to school, teach us about their culture. And like I could just laugh around a fire. I could go to sleep with my cheeks literally hurting because I've been laughing and smiling and dancing so much under the moonlight, around the fire, under the stars, and the rainforest with lightning bugs, to where up in the Tundu, the hole in the forest, where there's these 100, 200 foot tall trees, right? That the kids climb in during the day, but when the sun goes down, there's just this magnificent, beautiful, majestic, starlit sky. And then where the trees are, though, you'd think the stars would disappear. They don't, because there's all these lightning bugs. And so there's these lightning bugs that are lighting up. And then you look at the ground and you think that's where the stars would stop, because there's the sky and then there's the trees, but that even looks lit up with stars. And then the ground's covered with them too. You're like, what? There's these like glowing worms, like silkworms that glow.
Like Avatar.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. Yeah. I haven't seen that since it came out a long time ago. But literally the stars are lit up, the trees are lit up, and the ground are lit up with stars. Not really stars, but it seems like stars.
Right.
And we're dancing the night away because we got clean water. We're going to sleep. And I'm literally going to sleep drenched, sweaty, tired, cheeks hurting. And you can't sleep that way normally in the hot, humid rainforest, like just drenched. And I fell asleep with my cheeks hurting as the sun was coming up because we're celebrating clean water.
Mm.
Now, fast forward though, I found myself in a really dark, desperate place again that was real dangerous when I relapsed. And I'd been sober on and off for 10 years, on most of the time. And I'd built up 4 full years of real deal sobriety where I wasn't using anything. But I go through a divorce. That's hard. Lots of trauma there. Her personally, me personally,
Bringing
us
up
together.
unworthiness, bringing up that you're not good enough, bringing up a lot of those childhood wounds, I'm sure.
Yeah, the person I wanted to help the most in the world, I couldn't help at all, or like that I wanted to. And she couldn't help me, and we couldn't help each other. And there's just so much. I can't go into some of the things that just I want to protect her. I love her, care about her, and she cares about me. It's so weird. The silver lining is we were incredible friends. We still are. We have this deep love in our hearts for each other. We just know we're better not together. And so went to 2 years of counseling. And then the last 6 months was, or 2.5 years, the last 6 months was just counseling to get divorced. So it was super kind. Like my family thanked her. I think some of her family thanked me, or she thanked me. And really weird. Like she's in something now that I support, love, and she's going to be a badass rock star counselor. It's like, I want the best for her. And she wants the best for me. And I mean, she's called to help people. And, so that's really neat to support and journey with, but any divorce is hard. There's not an easy divorce. And yeah, what you're saying, I've never talked about it publicly, but that sense of unworthiness or failure, just fucking failure. You know, I wanted to be the one dude in my family or one person in my family that didn't get divorced, whether it was my parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. I wanted to be the one, you know, like I'm a loving dude and I have a lot of love to give and I hope I can give this to her. And we felt so like a match made in heaven almost. Anyways, we're both grateful for our time together, but the divorce happened in January. There was already some struggle going on internally. I was in a good place personally, but I was burning out. And that's what drew me to Fit for Service, saying to be of service to the world, you must be fit for service. Relationally, so tribe, community, financially, like through business, whatever. If you can't support yourself, you can't support others, which I always denied myself support. I always denied myself love so I could give it away. But I realized like you burn out real quick not real quick. It took 8 or 9 years, but I burned out on giving it away. And what I realized was I was disconnected from source. I was acting like a reservoir. And yeah, we are reservoirs and you got to fill up to give away. But bro, also what I've learned with Fit for Service is if you're connected to source, like that life-giving source, you can give it away because it's constantly flowing in so it can constantly flow out. But you disconnect from that and you just give. You burn out, you're running on fumes. You have nothing to give away. So that's where I was. And so the divorce happened. A mountaintop experience happened. But bro, I lost a good friend, Fina, who I watched grow up from 7 years old to 14. She died. She had tuberculosis when I met her. She was in the same village that Andy Bo died in, and or neighboring. But a man that I love, adore, who's like a mentor in my life, great friend, almost a father figure in Congo. He adopted her. And then for 7 years, she battled health, but she got better. She got healthier. She was taller than the other pygmies. She was filled out. She was living outside the forest because she was an orphan. And Papa Y just adopted her. We had to try to get her a lung transplant. And she at least needed it removed because it was killing her. And this is in like March, maybe February, March. So we got the divorce in January. February, March comes around. Fina dies. We get her out of there just like I did.
This year, 2020?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really hard for me because I watched her grow up. I watched her health be changed and saved. And now I know I should appreciate and be grateful for the 7 extra years she had because she was going to die at 7. And we were able to help her a lot. But we tried to evac her just like I did out of Congo to Uganda to get help. So the same guy that helped save my life was starting to help save Fina's life 7 years later. And we got her to a hospital on the border of Congo and Uganda, then in the capital city of Uganda, the capital city of Uganda. Then we took her to the biggest city, to another hospital, and in transport, she died. Then a good friend that I was in their wedding, he was my translator, right-hand man, his wife dies. And I was in their wedding. I love her. She fixed me meals. I'd stay at their home. Like, I really, really cared about El Nice. And she died in like late March, early April. And that was like devastating. Lost my wife, lost Fina, lost El Nice, 3 people I truly love, and had tried to help but couldn't help, if that makes sense. You know, and that's the helpless feeling. Like with Andy Bo, knowing that I have access to clean water, but this kid doesn't, and his dad died, his brother died, like just some devastating life stuff to happen. And bro, I used once, thought I could have one and done, and it just took me. It's like I took the drug took me. One for me.
Which drug?
Dude, this will sound ridiculous, but I thought I could have a joint and be done. And but I used it with the wrong setting, the wrong intention, the wrong people. And I had it and I was gone, to where all of a sudden it went from pot to more pot to drinking to pills to just gone. It's that whole one's too many and 1,000 isn't enough. Like I literally have the brain of an addict, or the disorder of an addict. And especially when it comes to Oxycontin. And so I went from weed to drinking to Oxy to Xanax. And I hole myself up in a room in a hotel in Oklahoma City in late March for 5 days, something like that, to where I woke up passed out to drills and them literally removing the hinges off the doors of the hotel I'm at, doing a wellness check because no one had heard from me for 5 days. I just had the do not disturb thing out. So no, what do you call it? Help, like no room service, no changing of my pillows or towels or anything for 5 days. And there's like 5 or 6 police officers pulling the door off. And they're doing a wellness check, making sure I'm not dead. And I not open the door, they're pulling the door off, and I get over there and they're like, "Are you okay? Like, we thought you might be dead. You weren't answering the door. How did you not hear us?" I'm like, "I was asleep." And they're like, "You were asleep?" No one could sleep through that kind of thing. And I was like, I was, just really tired, really exhausted, was burnt out, and was sleeping. And they leave. They put the door back on, and 2 police officers hang out afterwards, and one puts his hand on my shoulder, said, can I do anything for you? I go, "No, thank you though." He goes, "Well, I'm not asking as a police officer right now. I'm asking as John or Mark or whatever his name was." And I'm so messed up, I barely remember this, but he goes, I'm just asking as a, like, man to man, like, if there's anything I can do to help you. He goes, "I want you to know, like, when I get to my squad car, like, first thing I'm doing is I'm gonna be alone. I'm just gonna say a prayer for you." And I remember looking at him and kind of going, "Man, thanks. I need it." Just remember that's what I said, "Man, thanks. Pause. I need it." Right after that, I felt so much shame of relapsing, being in such a dark path, like having helped people, but now disappearing on people. And now, anyway, so I book a ticket. My team, I confess to them that I relapsed and everything else. And they're like, "You need treatment." What was really cool about my board of directors was they said, "Justin, we've stood behind you for years. And you always say it's your mission to put love and compassion in action and to fight for people. And now it's our mission as a board to put love and compassion in action for you and to fight for you. So we're coming alongside you, and we're going to stand in front of you with a shield. We're here to protect you in this time. Use 90 days as a gift to yourself. Don't think of it as a punishment. Think of it as an opportunity to go help yourself, to find self-love and healing and growth, and like to take Fight for the Forgotten to the next level. Like, this is just the beginning." And I was so blown away. I was crying. But then the place they chose was a place that, for me at least, it's a good place in Oklahoma, but for me, it doesn't have a great track record. It's pretty low percentages. They're kind of more in the business of keeping you there, because they can keep you there 90 days. They get paid more, right? And that's just the business of rehab. The longer you stay, the more they get paid. Well, the place I decided to go to and change to was a lost cause place, last resort. A guy I was in there with was like 9 times rehab stints, Stanford professor that ran one of the departments there, or a guy that ran literally maybe the largest college sports program in the country, or one of the top 3. They were just in a national championship game, like some other stuff, like they're big time. He's running that, but this is like 7th time in rehab. Another guy that's a pro ball player, another guy that's 15 stints in rehab for heroin. This is my first time going. And like a lot of them, like they didn't think I didn't belong because they knew I was one of them, but they're like, you're a high performer at this level, but you've never been to treatment. Why'd you come here first? I'm like, because I don't need a green smoothie when I wake up in the morning. You know, I mean, I would like one, but
yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? But at the same time, I don't need that. And I'm not here just to be counseled and get this addiction loved out of me. Like I'm here to do the work. And this is the biggest fight of my life. Yes, I need to love myself through this process and discover that. But I need fight camp. I need training camp. This is the biggest battle of my life. I need coaching. I need structure. So, bro, they were waking me up at 5:30 in the morning to fix breakfast for 32 guys, 60 eggs, 120 pieces of bacon. I'm fixing it for these guys. I'm not a cook. I don't cook my own food here in fight camp. Why are you having me cook for 31 other guys? Having to wash their dishes, all this stuff afterwards. But anyways, I was holed up in the hotel, and the attempt came whenever I decided I'm not going to that other place. I was super religious and lax and allowed you to have your phone, and people were using heroin inside the rehab because they knew their schedule and they could have their phones.
So that was
have
the
people
first
drop
place
them.
before the fight camp rehab.
Yeah, before the big book boot camp, 12-step completion program that kicked out over half the people that came.
Yeah.
Because like, you're not taking this serious. You're not going to get well. We're not going to send you out of here with a certification of like completion of rehab whenever you're going to go out of here, relapse and die. Like, I was like, whoa. So they just spoke hard truths to me. But the place they were trying to send me to, I decided not to go to. I tried to sway them, and my board was like, no, you're going here tomorrow. I was like, man, I just talked to my sponsor. He's saying I need to go to this other place. I felt called to that other place, and this place just isn't going to work for me in Oklahoma. Like I sense it in my spirit. I'm not going to watch South Park at night with the guys, you know, that don't want to be there. And so the next morning that night I booked a trip to Mexico. I decided to go to Playa del Carmen, and I was going to go to Tulum. But when I landed in Cancun, I got stopped like 12 or 13 times at roadblocks because of COVID shutdown. And what was so crazy was those roadblocks took so long. And I thought I was going to go down to Tulum, reset, talk them into letting me go to where I wanted to go, or just book it and come back and go straight there. I thought I'd have like a 7-day vacation of like reset. But the other option was more prominent. I was like, here's my 2 solutions. I buy some time, go back to the rehab I want to go to, or I fucked everything up so much that I'm just going down to Mexico to die. And I'm not going to have my family find me or someone that loves me find me. I'm just going to be gone down there. Wow, that's super selfish. So like, as much as I want to think that I'm a selfless guy, like active in my addiction, I'm the most selfish guy there is. And so I had a lot of work to do. Anyway, so to try to sum it up, I go down there, I get stopped 13, 14 times trying to get to Tulum. I make it halfway to Playa. I decide to get a spot there. Everything shut down. No one's allowed anywhere without a mask. There's what was that called? Not the quarantine, but the where you can't go out past a certain time. Curfew. So they have a curfew, and I'm down in Mexico. I flew down there with a one-way ticket with 2 pilots, 4 flight attendants, and me. I don't know why they didn't cancel the flight. Like there's literally one passenger of 6 employees and all the gas, jet fuel it takes to get someone to Mexico. So I thought it was very like symbolic because I was in this 2 headspace. I'm going to get my mind right, go to the rehab I want to go to. Then the other was like, this is a one-way trip, very few things packed because I'm not coming back from this. And so the symbology or whatever you call it to me was like, yeah, I want to take as few people on this journey with me. And so someone asked me, how do you get to such a dark place so fast? When I relapsed, it was like the drugs took me and I felt like I was not going to make it. Like this time I'm not going to escape. And I felt like I get the visual of like the Twin Towers and like when the jets hit the buildings, and there's people trapped above where the jet fuel's burning, they're stuck in the burning building. And they are trying to find the exits. They're trying to find the staircase. The elevators aren't working. They're looking for every route of escape and they find a window. And it's like, what are they going to do? Are they going to stay in the burning building with no exit and just suffer and die a horrific death? Or are they going to jump out into the fresh air where at least they can breathe a few more seconds? And like, neither option's good. They're both terrible. But it's the only 2 options in that moment that you see.
Yeah, in that headspace.
Yeah, in that headspace. So it's a really dark space and there's always a third option. But I didn't see it at the time. So anyways, I get down there. I end up meeting a drug dealer through a military veteran of ours who bought a dope condo that was there and was trying to heal from PTSD. But he had an addiction he was dealing with. His like sweetheart, the love of his life, his beloved, his bride decided not to come because of COVID. They had bought it. They were going to meet up. They just did the lockdown. And she's like, let's just wait a few more months. And he's like, no. And she goes, if you're trying to get me to move to another country during a worldwide pandemic, like we're done. So she breaks up with him after they buy their condo. And so he's down there in a bad headspace. I'm down there in a bad headspace. He finds this drug dealer. I don't know if he told the drug dealer or if the drug dealer knew fighting somehow. But anyways, all of a sudden, I take a picture with a drug dealer. He sends it to his guy in the cartel. All of a sudden, we're at this cartel like dealer's house or his like penthouse suite in this badass apartment complex. And I'm on the rooftop. He's got the whole top floor. He's got an infinity pool, waterfall going into it. Like this is like what's that movie with the cocaine dealer that's
Scarface?
Say hello to my little, yeah, this was Scarface, but in Playa del Carmen.
Right.
He's got a silk shirt, the chains on, the tattoos. There's police officers on the rooftop with us that have guns, yet they're working for the bad guy.
Right.
And
welcome to Mexico.
Welcome to Mexico. So I bought all these drugs, attempt to take my life the next day. And
back in
Playa at my hotel. So we get back, I buy all these drugs from the guys. And what I bought was Oxy, Xanax, bunch of weed, which was strange enough. They say it was grown in New York. I'm like, why do you sell in New York weed in Mexico? But
maybe it sounds fancy.
Yeah, it sounded fancy. It was actually really good stuff. Like the THC on it, I was like, holy cow.
They're like, everybody thinks that we're shipping drugs from Mexico to New York. Now we're shipping drugs from New York to Mexico.
To Mexico, we're selling it to the New Yorkers down here in Playa del Carmen.
We're that fucking fancy.
It looks like Mike Tyson was supposed to be there, and there should have been a tiger on top of the roof. But anyways, I get back to my place. I'm in a really dark headspace. I just decided on April 5th that today's the day. And I take 5 Oxy 80 milligram pills, which if you know anything about Oxys, normally after surgeries, they give people 5 or 10 milligrams. I found Oxy 80s, which were made in Mexico, I think, and could have been cut with like fentanyl or something, stronger, and wasn't like, it was the real deal for sure, but it wasn't like the real deal, you know? And so I bought a ton of those. I bought 2 milligram Xanax, which are the strongest, weed, Coke, crazy amount of Coke, which was the strongest Coke I've ever had in my life. And then I bought this red or pinkish, I'm colorblind partially, and this crystal that they told me was MDMA or Molly, like it was the pure crystallized form or something like that. She said it was real hard to get a hold of. And anyways, I go back to my place. I take 580s, which if we do the math with 5 milligrams, 400 milligrams of oxy is like 85 milligrams pills. So I'm taking 3 prescription bottles almost, like 30, 30, and 20.
Yep.
I'm taking that all at once, snorting it. I take the 5 Xanax 2 milligrams, which oxy, an opiate like that, and the strongest opioid were one of them with the strongest Xanax. Like
Benzo,
that's, yeah, benzo. It's like a heart-stopping combination or cocktail. And anyways, I take those, snort 5 lines of Xanax, 5 lines of oxy, take like a Sharpie sized
Trail of Coke.
that. Huh? Of Coke? Yeah. Sharpie pen sized line of Coke, the most I've ever done. Nose is numb. I drink about half or 3/4 of a handle of tequila. And I hate tequila. I mean, Texas, that's what every kid gets drunk on. And
Sure.
and that's what I first threw up on. So I'd never really liked it after that. And so I drink that. I'm punishing myself. I'm taking this. And all of a sudden the lights kind of start to dim. I'm high, drunk, on the pills. And I just knew I was going out. Like everything slowed. Everything started quiet. Everything started to darken. Everything started to get kind of still. My motor skills started to slow. Everything started to fade. And there was not a sense of worry, but a knowing that
I really did it this time.
yeah, time's about to, 1, time doesn't exist, and 2, my time's out. Wow, I never said that. Anyways, like I'm about to exit time, my time's over. And something in my spirit said, take the crystal. I hadn't taken the crystal of Molly, MDMA. So I do. I crush it up real fast, like slow. One of the hardest things I ever did was crushing that. I have a sapphire, like a Chase Sapphire Reserve card that's got metal inside and plastic on each side. Dude, I broke that card open, crushing this crystal open or up. And I snort it, and it's both nostrils. And I've never had my nose is numb from the Coke, but all of a sudden I have the worst burn of my life. Because like the chemical burn. And I remember I stumble over to the bed, just from the table to the bed, which was like a studio condo, like they were close. And I sit on the bed and I fall back and I pass out. This is noon or 2 p.m., something like that, right around that time in between there, that I just decided to end it. I pass out, everything goes dark, quiet, and I knew it was over. I just knew I was about to be gone. And I wake up to a gasp, like at like 6 a.m. the next day. How many hours? Is that like 16 hours? 18 hours?
So 2 a.m. the night before.
No.
2 p.m.
2 p.m. the night before to 6 a.m.
Yeah. So 16 hours.
Yeah. And if I did it at noon, 18 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, wild, right? Like, so 16, 18 hours, I'm passed out, and I wake up, and the first thought after was, shit, I'm still here. I'm like, fuck, I'm alive. And then I felt shame, but I also felt gratefulness. And something told me to go get in the water. So I walk out of Playa del Carmen, my hotel room, and I step right onto the sand. I was right, like beachfront or whatever. And that kind of brought this grounding to me. And I'm in the clothes from the day before. I take off my shirt. I'm in, not pants, I'm in shorts, but I go and I just get in the water. And I sit down on my knees, kind of in like a meditative state or like wrestling position type thing. And the water's coming over me, the ocean, the sun's not up yet. And I just start breathing, trying to connect with my breath, but like I feel this shamefulness washing over me. It's like shamefulness in a wave and a little bit of gratefulness I'd feel, and like a big wave of shamefulness and a little bit of gratefulness. And it started to kind of teeter-totter. And as I started to breathe more and be a little more grateful, but still feeling so shameful, it was like something switched. And then all of a sudden it was gratefulness washing over me and shamefulness leaving, and gratefulness coming over me and shamefulness leaving. And I'm sitting there and like, I just started thinking like, I'm so grateful for the breath in my lungs right now. And I'm so grateful for the beating heart in my chest right now. And just being present in that moment, that breath, and feeling the cool, healing waters over me. And as gratefulness was the only thing there and shamefulness had like left, I felt like I was supposed to open my eyes. I don't know if this was 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 5 minutes. It's almost like I wasn't in that time space. I was just there. And something in me told me to open my eyes, or it's time to open your eyes. And I just had the darkest night of my life. Had my eyes closed, was in so much dark shame. But I opened my eyes and dude, 2 seconds later, less than 2 seconds later, the sun, it just popped up on the horizon. I'm in the ocean. I'd just been grounded in the sand. I'm being healed by the waters and I see the light. And it was like God painted me the most gorgeous sunrise he's ever created. And it was like, wow, the creator, source, God, like paints one of these every morning and every night for all of us to appreciate, to enjoy, to gaze upon, to ponder, to wonder, to be in awestruck wonder of like this creation. And bro, I sat there and I cried in the waters. I just cried in the waters. And I knew this was April 6th. So April 5th, I attempted to take my life. And April 6th, I'm the most grateful for my life I've ever been. So it was almost like I was the most ungrateful to the most grateful. Like those two polarities, like just a crazy flip. And I knew I had to come back. I knew I had to go to rehab. I went to rehab. I did the deep work. It was the toughest, hardest 90 days of my life. And then when I came out of it, I was like, I need tribe. I need community. And I thought when I got out of rehab, I was just going to go get lost in the forest. I just need the forest. That's what I need. I need to go. I need to connect. I need to either be with the Pygmy people, my tribe, my family, or I need to just walk off and do like a 3-day soul wander or vision quest where I'm alone in the forest and I go live in a twig and leaf hut and I just take a shower in the rain. Those are my favorite showers in the world. The cooling, healing waters. Whenever a rainstorm comes, it's 20, 30 minutes. You have to rush because you're like, oh shit, it's here. And then you grab your soap, you grab oftentimes you don't even take a towel because you're going to be drenched.
Sure.
So you leave a towel in the hut or under a tree and you just go get naked in the forest and you just take this healing shower that's cool in the hot, humid rainforest. And I can't even see you when it rains that hard.
Right.
And so anyways, that's what I thought I was going to do. But I got out in like 3 to 6 weeks that were amazing, sober, feeling joy, feeling healed from a lot of childhood trauma and PTSD and addiction and depression from the work I did. But it was like, they kind of beat me down there. It wasn't a building you back up process. It was a tear you down. And when you get out of here, you can rebuild later. But we're going to strip you of everything. And so it was a hard process, but then something hit me like, reach out to Aubrey. And I don't know why that came over me. I'm so glad it did. But I get on Instagram and I look at what you've been up to. And honestly, bro, just to share a little bit, like I felt some shame attached to our friendship, not by you for any means or by any means, but because when I relapsed, I dropped the ball and I kind of ghosted in communication. You had reached out wanting to help. And I didn't get back to you. 1, because of a political thing with another organization I'd previously been with, but 2, because I'd relapsed shortly after that. I started going through marital troubles before the relapse. And then anyways, long story short, like I check your Instagram and like 3 or 4 posts back, you posted a video about Fit for Service. And I knew I needed to continue the deep work. I knew I needed tribe. I had to have community. I was lacking it. And when I saw that, I was like, is this a business mastermind? Like, no, it's a tribe. It's a community. It's a collective. That's what I need. And so I remember, I think I shot you a text, and then shortly after the text, because it's so vague, I just shot you like a voice text. I was like, hey, bro, I'm just throwing it all out there, being vulnerable, transparent, like laying it out on the line. I dropped communication with you because I relapsed. I'd gone through a divorce. I felt so much shame. You wanted help, and I wasn't in a good headspace, wasn't in a good place in life. And like, I just got out of rehab. I was there 90 days. I almost lost my life to an OD, and like, I need tribe. And I don't know why, but I feel called to your tribe. And like, I don't know what it is. I'm about to fill out an application, but I know I'm late. There's a waiting list. But if you could consider me for the next go around, or whenever timing's right. If it's right, great. If it's not, cool. But I thought I would regret it if I didn't reach out.
Don't want to have that what if.
Yeah, I didn't want that what if. So you reached out, then Claire called, then I got a hold of Christian, or Christian got a hold of me, and I was booking a trip to Sedona like the next day. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And I guess I don't want to take up too much time, but if I could finish with that vision in Sedona, we did breath work. And so that first vision I had, completely sober, right? The second vision I have, also completely sober. Never.
I mean, breath is kind of its own drug, but yes.
You're right. You're right. Okay.
Sober enough.
Sober enough in a way that it was more meditative breath work than consuming a substance that then takes you there.
It is breath. It's life force.
Wow.
You know? It's like purely, it is sober, but it's, we can open ourselves up to the mystery, open ourselves up to the soul that's always conspiring to help us and actually move things through us when we allow ourselves to use these vehicles. I mean, that same thing that in that moment of desperation told you to crush that crystal before you went to bed to give you that stimulant that was going to pull you out of your darkness.
I didn't share that on the spot. I shared it with you, didn't I?
You did.
When I was at treatment, when I was at rehab with the addictionologist, with the therapist, and with the recovery advocate who was an addict himself, but he was the head recovery advocate there. They wanted to know if I had ever attempted suicide. I said, yes, twice. I told them the first one. They go, that one someone could survive from, but it would be very plausible that they die from it too. Like it's like that was a 50-50 shot. Like you got lucky there. And the last one, April 5th, when I told him what I took, he goes, Justin, there's no way. Absolutely no way you should be in front of us right now. That was 100% a heart-stopping cocktail. Nobody, an elephant probably wouldn't survive that. Like, it's insane that you're here right now. And then all of a sudden, it flashed back to that crystal. I was like, oh, shoot. Like, I went back to that dealer that I took the picture with that took me to the cartel guy, and I asked him if I could get more of that, and what was it? He goes, oh, it was Molly. It was MDMA. Don't you remember you asked for that? We gave you that. I was like, no, what was it? He goes, oh, did you like it? I go, I'm asking for, I was thinking a no or maybe, but what was it? I just, so yeah, I liked it. What was it? He goes, oh, that was red phosphorus meth. That was crystal meth. And I was like, whoa, I've never done meth in my life. Never would think to touch it. That's like one of the drugs. It's like heroin and meth. Those are the two things you don't do. That's what losers do. Don't be a loser. Like, the other stuff, like somewhat more respectable people you might find doing coke or pot,
which is crazy ironic that we have these judgments about these different things.
Or drink, right? Drinking can be so terrible for people. It's one of the most dangerous drugs there is. Like meth and heroin, which you stop drinking. You know, there's two drugs in the world that you stop immediately once you're chemically dependent that you die from is alcohol and benzos. Xanax and alcohol, you cold turkey that and your body will go into a seizure, a coma, or die. So they have to like wean you off
both
that.
Are acting on the GABA mechanism in the brain.
But you stop heroin, you stop meth, you'll have some bad withdrawals, but you're not going to die from it. So anyways, I tell them that and they go, Justin, you cannot get that in the US. Breaking Bad and the blue meth, like you can only get clear or milky white like meth here, like salt looking meth. He goes, but in Mexico, you can still get red phosphorus. And that's the world's strongest meth. The first or second time you use that, you stay up for 6 or 7 days. I was like, 6 or 7 days? Like 6 or 7 days. I go, I passed out for 16 hours, 18 hours. They're like, Justin, the only plausible reason your heart is still beating, that you're still alive, is because they sold you bad drugs and they gave you red phosphorus meth, the world's strongest meth. And I was like, what? So again, the universe conspired to sell me the wrong drugs.
Yeah, even working through that drug dealer, you know, and that's how you have to understand that the souls of everybody in the collective is always working together. And even someone who's probably done a lot of bad in his life, you know, they was still acting, and that voice was still there saying, "Oh yeah, sell him the red phosphorus, give him that one." And who knows what that came from, and who knows what caused you to do that. Angel,
exactly, meth dealer.
Exactly, right? Even without his awareness of it.
Yeah. And they probably
All right, so before we were interrupted by the lawn army, we were wrapping up that story. There's literally 8 people with leaf blowers, which is actually quite lovely because they blew through extremely fast. But it was loud as all hell.
Gone with the wind.
So all right, so we wrapped up that story, ultimately, you know, talking about how the souls and the collective, whatever, conspired in many different ways, telling the drug dealer potentially, and it could all be coincidence. If you want to be a skeptic and say, oh yeah, it's all coincidence and the vision was a coincidence and all this stuff, fine, whatever you want to believe. But ultimately, you know, I think the reality that makes the most sense to me is there's all of these unseen hands, these forces. The one that told you, you know, to ask for that, the one that asked him to give you the wrong drug, the one that told you to take it, and that's what ended up saving your life, and then ultimately brought you out of that. And then perhaps even that message to say, hey, look at Aubrey's Instagram now, which is right when I was posting the Fit for Service thing, and reach out then. And then the past relationship we had, everything conspiring once again, you know, the helping hands of the universe, which has saved your life, my life, probably all of our lives. Many times we don't even know.
Right.
And really, you know, put you in a position where you're doing some breath work in Sedona with an introduction to a new tribe.
Yeah. Which I knew I was lacking so much and desperate for, but still at the same time, it still blows my mind at how much I needed it, but didn't know it. I mean, I knew I needed it because of my experience living in tribe, but just not believing it actually exists here, that it's been fractured and broken to where our American way of life and American dream is so different than what we were created for. I mean, you know, from being a man that is successful, but also more significant than successful. Like, they both go hand in hand, but you know, success without significance is pretty empty, pretty meaningless.
Sure, you get a bigger house where you're more and more isolated and lonelier, and then you look out at the world and you think everybody wants something from you. They're all trying to get some money or get some power or get something else. So you get more and more isolated. You're projecting the best sides of yourself to everybody around you, making sure everybody thinks that you're doing fine, but you never share the vulnerable, messy, ugly, dirty truth of what's going on in your mind and in your heart. And that's the state that unfortunately most of us are in. And that's why, you know, when everybody looks at somebody wealthy and says, you know, easy for you to say, or projects that their life is a fucking cakewalk, it's not. I promise you that, because the thing that we need, as we've seen down in Mexico, I mean, not in Mexico, in Africa, is that the true happiness comes from tribe. And there's no greater isolation than being on the top of a mountain where everybody around you wants something from you. So people have no idea, really. Like, yeah, all right, some things are really easy. Some things are really convenient. The basic needs are covered. And, you know, for the people in that state, it's hard to even imagine what the suffering would be like for the Pygmy people who have none of their basic needs covered. However, another aspect of the basic emotional needs of tribe, they have in spades. And the other people are bereft. So it's pick your poison, you know, and it's like, that's the thing that we have to realize. Like, we can't judge everything based upon our own criteria, like tribe, but starvation, all right? Or absolute opulence and all the food, but a starvation of emotional support. And, you know, both are bad. I'm not going to be the one to say this one's better or this one's worse. They're both awful, you know, situations to be in.
But real quick, I mean, because I'm going to get to the breath work and and vision that was so healing and epic for me. But man, the thing about living in community, so I felt like I didn't feel like I was at home either place. I did with the Pygmies for sure. But at the same time, like, I didn't grow up here. It took me 25 years to get here. I look so different. I mean, even the polarity's there, right? Like, here's these shorter, smaller statured people with dark skin and no arm hair or facial hair or leg hair. They just don't have body hair, even though grandpas, And then I get there and they think I'm a grandpa when I'm 25 because I've got this big beard. It's blonde. It's got white spots from malaria and the stress on my body. But I'm a big dude. They're little, like we look complete opposites, but our hearts are the same. We're one, And the thing about them is a kid will be a slave for a day. Can't go to school, never has that opportunity. And he's in the fields from like 3, 4, 5 years old with his family. And he gets a full day's wage, or maybe his family does, and it's 2 bananas for a family of 5 or 6. Or each of them get a small fish or 2 for a day's wage, which the slave masters say is small fish. And I go, that's a minnow. That's fish bait. We use that fish to catch other fish. And he's like, well, do you pay your animals or do you feed your animals? We feed ours. Doesn't that make the most sense? Isn't that wild?
Whoa.
Yeah. But think about this with a kid coming down, sitting by me on a log, right? Sitting around the fire. And he just got his full day's wages, and it might be 10 to 15 peanuts. 10 to 15 peanuts. So a child's hands, just his palm, right? And he reaches his hand out, motions for me to put my hand out, and I do, and he shares half with me. He just shared 5, 7, 8 peanuts with me. And I'm thinking, I can't take this. This is your food. This is your pay. This is your sustenance. I can't take that. But they're so eager and willing to just, what I have is yours. I only take what I need from the forest. And if I have food, like a kid teaching me a leadership privilege, right? Like, I'm not going to eat till you eat. Like, you can have what I have. Like, what's mine is yours. We're together in this.
It was a moment like that actually was what set Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, on his whole path to create the whole study called logotherapy, the study of purpose. He literally watched someone in the concentration camp that he was in, and everybody was starving. They got little pieces of bread, and he watched that person, and there was somebody dying of starvation, and everybody's dying, but someone got their share and then took half of his own share and gave it to this other person. So he had 1.5 shares of bread. So to nurse him back. And Viktor Frankl realized at that point, like, there is a deep beauty in humanity. And then when you have the purpose to serve others and that purpose to like go out there, it changes. And it was sustenance both for the giver and the receiver.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Like when you give food in that way.
Yeah. He didn't lack, even though he was giving away half of it, he actually received probably more than just the half he gave away.
That's the thing that we don't realize. And in these really dark places, we can find these amazing lessons and these amazing teaching, because that little kid was a teacher.
Oh, he was.
No doubt about it.
I mean, maybe 2, 3 years old. And I'll get into the vision real quick of breath work, but real quick before that, my first time, my ex-wife and some of my family and close friends, they get a little disturbed when I eat rotisserie chicken now. And I know that sounds funny to say, but I took a chicken leg in Congo, and they'd given it to me, and they're splitting a forced chicken, which, I mean, one of our chicken breasts, like a real deal, not real deal, the fake stuff with the hormones and everything pumped into it. Our chicken breasts that, are massive at Costco or Walmart or wherever.
Sure. Like a ribeye.
Yeah, like a ribeye chicken breast is more meat than a whole forest chicken in the Congo.
Sure.
Without a doubt. Like little chicken legs like that big, and it has half of what you think should be on there. And I ate that, and I took the bone and I chunked it over my shoulder, because it's just the bone. What are you going to do with that? And bro, kids scattered and went and grabbed it and blew it off, brushed it off. I don't even think they rinsed it off, but just started eating the knuckles of each side of the chicken leg, like the knee and the ankle, like pulling off the knuckle and eating that and chomping into the bone marrow. And my translator and right-hand man there goes like, whoa, you just threw that away. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I was shocked, I was confused. I go, what are they going to do with that? And then they start chomping on it and they start eating it. And all of a sudden I was like, holy cow, my scraps. What I grew up in, being taught, don't eat that. Throw that away. Don't give it to your dog. Do not give it to your dog because it might hurt his stomach, right? But yet these kids are growing up eating it. And so when I sit there and random story, but when I eat a rotisserie chicken, I finish the bones, the spine, the ribs, every part of it. I mean, I learned that, oh, don't throw away this. The knuckle, the joint, like, is actually a really good part of the body for you. The bone marrow is the most nutritious, most flavorful, most incredible part of the animal. Why would you throw that away? You know, and so like I normally eat rotisserie chicken now by myself, or
okay, not
or
going
with
to
people
Buffalo
that
Wild
understand.
Wings. That'll
right?
be real embarrassing
Yeah,
for me.
well, I'll get the boneless, or just the tenders. But
no, go ahead, man. You eat it
Yeah.
all. I'm just going out of my own shame for not wanting to eat the spine.
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, do I got to
Yeah.
eat the spine?
No,
without
and
everything?
it's a skill. Like, it hurt the first time or two. I was like, oh, but there's a skill to it, right?
Yeah.
There's a fishing village there that I go to, and they get these little bony. Have you ever seen a Goliath tigerfish?
Oh yeah.
Dude, those things are beast. But they have little tigerfish too, right? The ones that don't have alligator-sized teeth or crocodile teeth. But they're so bony, hundreds of bones, it seems like. And these fishermen and fishing kids, you can pop a piece of that bony tigerfish in their mouth. And in one side, they're chewing the meat, and the other side, the bones are coming out. They're doing it simultaneously. They're eating and spitting bones out at the same
Like
exact
people
time.
who are really good at eating sunflower seeds.
Yes. Yeah. But even the best of the best, like eating these bony fish, just spitting them out quick. So anyways, like, I watch that, appreciate it, learn to eat
For
like
sure.
they
It's
eat.
beautiful.
Yeah. And so anyways, I go to Sedona. We're there. I meet tribe like I've never met, these people that were instantaneous family that was almost like in the forest with me. I just knew I could trust and love and share and give and receive and all that other stuff. And it was really, really good. So I'm in Sedona and we do the breath work, and I'm thinking, okay, this will be cool, be meditative, whatever. And, but then I think it was 3 hours, scheduled for 3 hours. Like, whoa, how am I going to breathe for 3 hours? Which I guess I breathe forever, but or have since I was existed. But it's like, how am I going to do focused, concentrated, working breath for this long? Anyways, Anahata, is that what you said? Anahata and hot stuff. She was leading it. They had the facilitators up there, the helpers, you guys, which were so incredible, man. And y'all said to set your intention. My intention coming out of rehab, knowing that I struggled with self-love my whole life. And for 20 years, I've been suicidal off and on, really only 3 times majorly, but 2 times attempted and 1 time for real, right? So I know that I need to breathe, like go into this breath work, set an intention. I wanted it to be loved. The one word, loved. Not just love, but that I'd feel loved. That's why the D's at the end of it, that I would just experience that for maybe the first time for real. And so I take it, or I take the paper and the note card and I write down loved. And then we did those cards, we drew those things, and it just helps with the intentions, what do you call them, oracle cards or?
Sure.
Yeah. I'd never seen those. Like, this is a whole new world for me, right? And whole new language, feminine, masculine, drop in,
The lexicon.
yeah. I don't even know that one yet, but I will. Shamanic.
Well, it's like every
breathe,
tribe has a language.
Yeah,
you
every
know?
tribe has a language, and I love this language because it's one of like acceptance and worth and value and like sharing and community and tribe and things that we all need and are desperate for, and resistance and freedom. And I mean, these words that like I want, I want those in my everyday language. I mean, I want to use these. I want to give these. I want to receive these. Vulnerable, divine, masculine, divine, like those things, like we're so powerful and set up this breath work to where I went into it and we start breathing, bro. And the card I got was the goddess of water, which is so crazy. I get this card handed to me and I'm like, what is this? Is this witchcraft? Is it not? What would super religious people think? What would nobody think? What would, and I'm open-minded. So I was like, yeah, let me take a card and see what I get. Of all the cards I could have gotten in this deck with these 50, 60 people, I get the goddess of water. And I'm the man of, you had started before I even drew that though, about talking about the rainmaker and that we're all rainmakers. And I'm sitting there like, dude, that word resonates with me so much. That's who I want to be, as a rainmaker.
So the story of the rainmaker, just real quickly, is...
I love it. Please share it.
It's a proverb, and Eric Godsey shared this proverb, and it's a story about an archaeologist that was going to study a remote Chinese village, and they hadn't had rain in a long time. And he said, what are you going to do about this? Crops are failing. Everything's...
A drought, a famine.
A big drought. Right. And they said, we're going to call the rainmaker. And he's like, all right, who's the rainmaker? So this old man comes to the village. They lead him to an abandoned hut at the end of the village, and they lead him into the hut. And the man stays in the hut for 3 days. The rainmaker stays in the hut. And at the end of the third day, it starts to rain. And the rainmaker comes out.
Do you not have food or water?
Yeah, the rainmaker comes out, and the archaeologist is there. He's like, what did you do in the hut? What is going on? And he said, well, when I came to this village, it was out of order. And it infected me. And so I went into the hut. And I brought myself into order. And I cured the disorder within myself. And then the land became into order, and then it started to rain. And that's the story of the rainmaker. And the idea was we actually had the water that actually failed. The well, ironically enough, for your breath work, failed at that point. One of the check valves failed, and we had no water at the ranch.
Couldn't use the restrooms or wash
Couldn't
your hands.
use the rest. No running water, which was, I didn't really realize the irony of that happening for your breath work either, right? So I said, we all have the opportunity to be rainmakers and the opportunity to set our own relationship with water back in right accord, our appreciation, our gratitude for the water that we have, and also the water that's inside of us, the 70% of water, the tears that flow, the emotional body. The sea has always been linked to our emotions, the turbulence, the depth, all of that. Like, let's become in right accord with our own waters, and we'll see if the well water, it kind of turns back on, and ultimately at the end of the breath work, we set ourselves back in order. And again, could be all coincidence, but we popped out of there, and I went over to the kitchen sink and turned it back on, and the water was running. And we had some technicians that came out and fixed it, but ultimately, there was kind of the metaphor that came through. And then you getting the goddess of water card, you start to see all these synchronicities, and one of them, at any one of them, you're like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Yeah, but all of them
they
together,
start to stack, and then you just start to nod, still keeping a little bit of skepticism. I'm always a little bit skeptical, and I always
don't want to be too woo-woo.
Exactly. I always want to say this, all could be just coincidence, and I always hold on to that because I think that's healthy, because you can get lost in looking at everything as this, oh my God, this bird said this, and oh my God, this fucking flower, and there was this butterfly, and then I knew that I had to, you can reach. But ultimately, like, when you really look with just kind of a calm and unbiased view, you start to see that, again, the theme of this, the universe conspiring, and certainly the universe conspiring to give you that goddess of water card.
Well, so whenever you said about the rainmaker, about him saying this place was out of order, I came in and it made me out of order. So I had to come back into order so that the land could come back into order, this village, this tribe, and that it could rain again. That for me reminds me so much of a Swahili proverb that also goes along with my life story and even addiction and depression. But it's, if there is no enemy within, the enemy on the outside can do us no harm. That's just so powerful to me. Like, if there is no opponent within, the enemy on the outside can do us no harm. And it's like, man, if we conquer our own demons, if we blot out our own darkness. Not saying the shadow self is completely bad, but if we can the closer we get to light, the farther we get from dark.
And that's the process of loving into the darkness, to love your shadow, to love the part of you that wanted to take your life, to love the part of you that's scared and lonely and doesn't feel worth it, not have any shame, and just love all of the aspects of the entirety of yourself.
Bro, this is I've shared it once. This is only my second time ever sharing this story, man. It was with you. And like, because it means so much to me, it matters. I've had so much transformed just by being included. I don't think people understand how much it matters to be included in things. And I think it goes back to a big wound of mine at 13 years old, being rejected and only included to be made the laughing stock and be made fun of and told you should kill yourself. You know, and then to be included in your tribe when I reach out and get in instantly. Whenever I was actually late to the deadline. I was like 2 or 3 weeks after y'all already accepted everybody and shut down the application process or put them on the wait list. And so, man, like that whole, if there is no enemy within, the enemy on the outside can do us no harm. In the vision I had, and then you talk about the Rainmaker and how serendipitous or synchronistic that was, me being there. When you told the story of the Rainmaker, and Eric had already set it up by saying it another time during that week, and you saying, before you even said it, I thought one of my intentions is to be a Rainmaker. So it's loved, it's be a Rainmaker. Let's see if this water will come back on. I know everyone was thinking that, but like that was one of my hopes. Like that'd be so rad. Like not attaching an outcome to it. Like if it doesn't happen, then we failed. But just like that'd be so awesome.
Right.
Like that's part of my intention, to be loved. Let's get this water back on. Let's be a Rainmaker. And then I pull the Goddess of Water card. Isn't that wild? I pull the Goddess of Water card. I sit there, we start breathing, the music's on, there's some drums, some of those shaker things, and rattles. This is all new to me, man. There's some rattles, and I loved it. And we're breathing and we're being coached. And I'm just like, holy cow, this woman, she is a beast at breathwork. Like this is her calling, her mission. She's an Olympic gold medalist of breathwork.
Yep.
Like she's the best of the best there is. Like I can identify greatness now when I meet it, when I see it and experience it. And so she was so great at what she did. I don't know if you remember this. I mean, I had my eyes closed the whole time, never opened them, but you came down over me during like 20, 30 minutes in, I don't know, something like that. And we're going into 2 hours of breathing at least. And because we set it up with 30 minutes, digested it for like 30 minutes. And you got down on your hands and knees, whatever, you're beside me, and you put your hands on my chest as Anahata's coaching us into breath work, getting deeper in that breath. You have your hand over my chest, and you said something to this effect. I might slaughter it, but I think it was beautiful in a way that you said, what is this armor over your heart? And you said, can you drop that armor? Can you let your creator truly see you? Can you allow yourself to be seen? What is this guarding you have over your heart? Will you be vulnerable with the creator that made you? Something like that, man. And it blew me away in a way that it softened my heart, because the visualization I took myself into while breathing and hearing you say that and knowing it was you because it's your voice. And just being like, seeing armor around my heart drop and fall and hit the dirt, you know? And just being mentally inviting in my creator to be like, God, like, yeah, take this armor off. I'm taking this armor off. I'm seeing myself place the armor down. I'm seeing the armor fall from my heart or whatever. Bro, right after that, you got up, you walked away. The music's still intense. People are having these experiences around. You can hear them having intense like breathing work, and some people tearing up or crying, you know, other people just in the space, or you feel it, I guess. You're all breathing together in sync. Like it was almost like the Bear Mountain was breathing with us, you know. It was so incredible. And all of a sudden I had this vision that was so vivid, so real, almost like 10 years before. You know, 10 years before that, 20 years ago, I find out I want to kill myself. I guess not find out, but I decide, and I'm told, you know, and take it on as my own truth. Then 10 years later, I attempt suicide for the first time. Then 10 years later, I have amazing stuff happen, from the UFC to writing a book to a TED Talk to Joe's podcast, meeting you, knowing that, I mean, seeing slaves freed, water given, land like acquired, and farms growing. I mean, amazing, incredible, miraculous stuff that happened because of a vision that I couldn't conjure up or replicate ever again, even though I invited, I wanted, but I'm not chasing it though in a way that like, oh, here, this butterfly and this, sign said, and this person said, and the radio said, and, taking things from everything and trying to conjure something up, make it happen. 10 years later, I'm breathing. You say that over me, and Ahata starts picking up the breath work. And I have this vision where I literally see the ocean. And we're all talking about water and pool the goddess of water and intention rainmaker, all this stuff. I don't know if this just set me up for this or what, or it's just supposed to happen. I see this deep, dark, vast ocean. And these dark, stormy clouds brewing this perfect storm. And in the water, my vision kind of zooms in, and I see in this vast ocean that all there is darkness. Nothing's there except clouds and dark waters. I see something floating. And it's small, but my vision kind of zooms in on it, and I see this darkened, hardened heart. Not like an emoji, but like an anatomically correct human heart that is floating at the surface of the water, but then it starts to sink. There's the dark, stormy clouds, there's the ocean waters, and my heart starts to sink and dive and start to drown into the ocean. And as my heart sinks deeper, my chest literally constricts and feels pressure. I was just with Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese in Malibu. And whenever I'd go down to 11 feet deep in their pool, I would feel this weight on my chest. It was every bit as real as that, if not more, and even more like pressure and constriction than being at the bottom of their pool last week. And so I feel every time my heart sinks, the further it gets down, the more constricting I feel, but I'm not worried. I don't have fear. I'm not anxious, but I'm observing my dying, drowning, desperate, dangerous heart. And I realized that's where I was 6 months ago when I was despising myself in a dangerous, hateful spot of self-loathing. And like that's where I was April 5th. My heart was sinking to the ocean floor. It was dying, and I was about to be gone, dead. Well, right when it's 10 feet, 20 feet off the ocean floor. Someone comes by, one of the facilitators or helpers, and they sprinkle water on me. Well, I'm kind of in a spot that there's a little bit of sunshine. I don't know if they're cooling me off, if it was this holy water. There was some intention behind it, though, I know. And right when that water sprinkles on me, I see at the ocean surface, I see like a dive into the water, this just gorgeous golden water that breaks the surface of the water. And it's literally like a dive into it, and it just dives in and starts this gorgeous swirling swim down to my heart. And that thing is moving. My heart's slowly sinking, and this gorgeous golden water it's on a mission, a rescue mission, diving straight down towards my heart. And it catches it right before it hits the ocean floor, 2-3 feet off. It encapsulates it and engrosses it, and it swirls around it. It's this golden, gorgeous, bubbly water, and it swims up to the surface in this gorgeous kind of pattern. And as it rises, I feel the relief or pressure let off of my chest. Physically, I feel this. And I can start breathing a little deeper, and it breaks into the surface, and it's now hovering over the ocean waves or waters. It's not like crazy waves. Anyways, there's this gorgeous golden water swirling it. All of a sudden it turns into this flame, this ball of fire. And it's encompassing my heart. When it goes from the golden, gorgeous, healing waters to this burning fire of love in and on and surrounding and just consuming my heart. And then it turns into this bright light of this white orb of the sunshine. And whenever that happened, this golden orb, it started pushing back the dark, stormy clouds, and they started to become like clear skies. And the water starts to push back at the same time, where it starts to peel back from, or push back. I don't know how you even describe that, but it goes from my heart that's there in the dark water to like these Caribbean crystal clear blue waters. So the sky clears, the water clears, and it's just beautiful. And then all of a sudden it goes from the gorgeous golden water to the flame of love to this white, bright light orb, to then it turns into this golden, molten, like smoldering kind of goldsmithing gold. And it starts to solidify. It's like melting onto my heart, like what a goldsmith would make jewelry out of. And then it solidifies into this heart of gold, which is so crazy. And I decided to raise my hands to like help me breathe a little bit more. I don't know why I did that, but I just raised my hands right whenever my hands get out in front of my chest. The facilitator, one of those angels, comes by, grabs my wrist and pulls my hands from here to here above my head. And whenever they did that, I felt like someone else, because they have both my wrist, I felt like someone put a medicine ball in my hand, like something we would train with or work out with. It felt 10, 15, 20 pounds max, but something was there. And it was this bright, or not bright, I couldn't see, I didn't have my eyes open, but it was this warm energy ball, a ball of energy in my hands. And I'm trying to put my hands together and they won't go. And because there's some weight to it, I put my hands back over my chest instead of above my head. My hands are out, reverse plank or whatever with the medicine ball. And we were all talking about medicine bags and, what's the medicine you're going to share with this world and your community and your tribe and all this stuff. And it's like, wow, I was just given this medicine ball to use and train with and all this stuff. And so I see the gorgeous water, I see the flame, I see the light, and I feel that golden heart starting to, I don't know, the facilitator comes back and grabs my hands, now on top of my hands instead of my wrist, and they place them above one another, and they start to place my hands down on my chest. When they did that, it was like that light entered me. No joke, like physically, it's in my mind's eye and I'm visualizing it, but not even visualize, it's a full-on vision. But I feel this warmth of this like golden honey, this warm liquid, soothing, healing, love honey just sink into my chest. And it swells around my heart. It melts into my heart. And it just like, I can breathe deeper. Like my eyes are closed, but I can see clearer. And I was just so thankful. And tears again fall down my face. I'm on my back and like these tears just kind of fall down my face. And I start thinking like, wow, from April 5th to April 6th, like that was the transformation. I mean, it's been a process, but like at Sedona, I received self-love, I think, for the first time for real, and accepted it, received it, because dude, love's a gift. And it comes with the greatest
gift.
It's the greatest gift, and it comes in a pretty packaged, gift and a bow, figuratively. But the thing is, when you're given a gift, you have to open it. You have to untie the bow, you have to pull the top of the box off, and you have to grab what's in there. You have to receive it and be grateful and say thank you and, and truly receive it. And I don't think I ever felt worthy of or belong, like that deserving. I would always give it away. So quick to give it away, so slow to receive it. Like I would deny myself love so I could give love to other people. And all of a sudden, like I felt just empowered by like, oh, it's okay to love me too. I don't just have to love everybody else. I don't just have to love God. Like I can love me. Like if they can love me, I can love me. Like it just made sense all of a sudden. And I know that makes sense. and self-care isn't selfish. And I mean, I can quote stuff like that, but like actually believing it and receiving it and living it, dude, that's way harder. That's the work. And so in Sedona, I was just blown away by that. And bro, I had not shared that story. I didn't share the vision there, but I hadn't shared the story of April 5th and April 6th and going down to Mexico, a one-way ticket, attempting a real suicide attempt, like not wanting to come back, making my mind up, taking it all to make sure it wasn't possible for me to still live or breathe or have a beating heart in my chest. And then I felt this bold moment where Madeline and Claire were talking in Sedona, and they kept asking me if I was going to be in the talent show. And I was like, no, I'm not in the talent show. And everybody else, I had like 15, 20 people go, what are you doing in the talent show? And the reason they were asking was because I was goofy. And I got to share this with you just real fast, because the healing moment for me, one of the greatest healing moments at Sedona wasn't just the vision, but pairing it with a talent show. Because whenever I think costume party, I get ready to shit my pants or like, you know, like piss or just scared, because that's my history with it. It was not good. It was one of the most wounding moments of my life. And now I'm going to Sedona with 100 and whatever people that were there, and we're all tested, social distancing, all whatever. But like, I'm going with these new people I don't know except for you, and I'm going to go dress up. So I decided, like, I'm going to get a Viking helmet. I'm going to get my gay tailor, who I love, named Ben, in Oklahoma City. I'm going to get him to make me this, like, I was like, dude, I just need some, like, their last trip looks like they had a Burning Man night. I just need something I could wear to Burning Man. He goes, do I have free reign? I go, yeah, bro, you got free reign. He's like, all right, Viking helmet check. I'm going to make you a Viking Star Commander, like black tunic with silver hood. And I'm going to make you these harem pants, jumpsuit, one arm overall, like badass, like jumpsuit. And to tie it all together, we need to get you some like silver men's size 14, but big girl roller derby, like skates. We're going to put your big ass in this, and you're going to go skate on Aubrey's ranch in Sedona in the red dirt. You know, I'm like, no way. And anyways, I do it. And this is the day after, I think, breath work or something. And bro, I was just able to share in a way that I never thought I would or could, vulnerably. But I guess what happened to just share, like, so many people think I'm in the skate or the talent show that I'm skating on that little platform, little stage. They're like, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, I'm not doing that. What are you dressed up for? Because I wanted to, like, because this is my tribe. This is my community. I'm accepted here and I'm welcomed here, and I'm going to show up. I'm going to bring it just like everyone else is. And so I was just having fun. Then Claire said, I should be in the talent show. What can you do? And then Madeline's like, what are you doing in the talent show? I'm like, nothing. She goes, oh, good, because you're not on the list. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I'm not doing anything. And Claire goes, you should MC. And I go, I've never MC'd in my life. Public speaking is my number one fear. And she's like, that's why you should do it. And I'm like, well, why don't you go ask Aubrey and I'll do it if he says yes. And she goes, okay. And she goes, wait, no, I'm not going to ask Aubrey. You're going to ask Aubrey. And I go, what? And she goes, it'll mean more coming from you and seeing that you genuinely want to do it. And I go, I don't know if I genuinely want to do it. And so she's like, no, go ask. And I thought about it and I was timid, bro. I started to, and I turned around. I turned around because I was thinking, one, this is Aubrey's deal. It's his show. It's his mastermind group. You know, I know you don't think of it that way, but it's on AubreyMarcus.com, fit for service, right?
Sure.
Like, and so I'm like, this is his thing. He's running the show. I'm not going to go impose and say, let me MC, you know? But as I walked away, kind of in shame, like, oh, I can't go ask him this, even though I'm goofily dressed up and everyone thinks I'm in the talent show. I can't just go like, you know, you're a driven leader, right? I'm not just going to go ask you to take over for you. But then when I come back to Claire, she's like, did you ask him? I'm like, no. And she's like, you got to go ask him. I'm like, well, help me because I'm nervous. She's like, no, if he doesn't want you to, he'll just say it and don't take offense. But it might be a blessing. I go, oh, that's it. Like, is there a way for me to be a blessing to Aubrey by letting him enjoy the talent show with his bride, with his beloved, and sit there and enjoy it? And you're reading a poem or two. And so it's like, you're going to be in the talent show and you're going to MC the talent show. Like, that's just a lot. You've been doing a lot. Like, we're at your home. You have 100 and something guests at your home. Who does that? Like, just says, yeah, for a week or something, come chill at my ranch. And like, I'll have strangers and we'll welcome you into my home, my bride's home. Like, that's incredible, man. That's something truly phenomenal about you.
Thank you, brother.
Love you, man. And so anyways, I go and I ask you, I go, hey, can I MC or something like that? And or I want to MC for you. Or you're like, no, I can't ask that of you. You said something like, I can't ask that of you. And I think I said, well, you didn't ask it of me. I'm asking you. And if it will be a blessing, a benefit, if it will be an addition, not a subtraction, like if you can just sit and enjoy it with Vailana, like do that. And you thought about it, you said yes. And then you instantly went into, no, I can't ask that of you. Well, let me think. Maybe that'll work. How will we make it happen? To then all of a sudden you were strategizing and coaching me. You were like grabbing the list, showing me. I'm like, oh shoot, I only know 2 of these people. Maybe I shouldn't do this with 17. And then you're like, you can do that. You just got to say what they're going to do. And then you say, you all know them. You all love them. And then you just introduce. And I was like, I can do that. And I went around and got fun facts. You had, was Caitlin always going to help or no?
Yeah.
I forget. She was. Okay. Anyways, I guess just filled in for you. But her and I, we had met one time before that. And it was like, hi, Caitlin. Hi, Justin. Like, it's finally good to meet you. That was it. And then all of a sudden we're emceeing together. And I've never gotten so many comments and compliments after anything in my life that I've ever done than emceeing that dang talent show. And something set the stage. 1, you allowing that. And 2, me being able to just be free in this goofy costume up there in front of everybody, to then appreciating their talents, being reminded, I don't know if you remember me saying this, but I said, guys, how lucky, how fortunate, how grateful should we be that we're together right here, right now, at the base of this gorgeous mountain, sharing our talents, our skills, appreciating people. And like I remember saying, going back to April 5th, and that's what spurred me sharing it that night, right then and there, was I go, guys, I flash back to April 6th when I'm sitting in that water and I go, how grateful should we be for the breath in our lungs? How grateful should we be for the beating hearts in our chest? Like, can you feel that? I feel it right now. And then I go, but guys, this wasn't where I was 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I attempted to take my life. I tried to end it. April 5th and April 6th, I woke up and I was so grateful to be here. And I go, but 6 months ago, I was in the darkest place of my life. But 6 months later, with you guys here and now, I'm in the brightest, best, most loving place I've ever been in. And I've had the most healing week of my life. So I was like, just so grateful and thankful. And I'll kind of sum it up there, but man, just what you've created has been so incredible. It's such a gift. Just like me being taken to Congo for that vision, where the collective or those souls were like, I'm gonna sprinkle this in. I'm gonna just drop in this vision to Justin's life when he's ready, and he'll have an opportunity to say yes or no. He gets to make a choice. Same thing with you, bro. With Fit for Service, all you do at On It and all the good things you do in the world, like you had a choice, you had an opportunity where they dropped that in and said, Aubrey, you could do this, or you could create this. You could be the one we start this with or through, you know? And you had to answer the call. You had to say yes or no.
No doubt. And it's been one of the greatest joys and blessings of my life to be able to cultivate that. And, you know, for everybody listening,
it's been one of the greatest gifts of my life, by the way. Just want to thank you for that. Go ahead.
You're welcome, brother.
Please.
And thank you for being a part of it. Because from the moment you got there, you added so much love and you were instantly there. I mean, the basis of the tribe is radical acceptance and radical love. It's the opposite of what you experienced at 13. It's where no matter what your quote talent is, we're going to celebrate the hell out of it. And just the courage to get up there and share your voice and whatever it is, whether it's a poem or a dance or just talking for a moment, or there's every variety of different things that were there. But anybody who wants to share something, you're going to be received in radical love, which reprograms all of the judgment and all of the separateness and all of the clickiness. It's like, no, whatever you have to share doesn't matter. It could be the most challenging part of your life. It could be the thing you're the most ashamed of. It could be the quote horrible thing that you've done in your life. It could be anything, or it could be the greatest thing. It could be the triumph. It could be, it's just going to be received and it's going to be loved. And that's what tribe is really all about. And unfortunately, we can't have this open to the whole world and all the listeners, but I encourage everybody. It's not about joining the Fit for Service tribe. It's about the idea that you can make this on your own.
Yeah.
Like you can find your own group and you guys can go through your own processes. I think these rites of passage are so important, whether it's ecstatic dance or whether it's breath work or whether it's the wanders or, the cold plunging together, or going in a sweat lodge or making a sauna into a sweat lodge. I've done that before where we just close the doors of the sauna and we're like, we're in here for an hour. And, we'll sprinkle some herbs on the fire, so there'll be a little smoke. We'll spread the water. We'll sing our prayers. Like, there's so many ways that we can do these with people where you start to build that vulnerability and that closeness and that dropping of all the pretense and all the avatars and projections that we put out there, and really just welcoming each other. And that's the idea. And everybody can create that in their own life. And man, we all need it. Yeah. Every single one of us needs that and craves that. No matter where you are, how successful or how unsuccessful you are, it doesn't matter. That's just another judgment. Like ultimately at the essence, all of us are same. Everything else are just, trophies and garments that we put on. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that all of us are worthy, and all of us are worthy of love no matter what we've done. And to have a group that reinforces that belief and then allows the space to receive without the impetus to need to fix anything, but just to be there, to listen and to hold and to say like, yeah, I'm with you. Like whatever you've experienced, I've experienced my own version, Tatwa Masi, I am that too. And that's really what tribe is all about. So, hopefully all of the external resistance that we're in the world right now is a reminder that pointing to the areas where we need to lean in to support ourselves so that we can go out and support the world in a greater way. And so that we can find those places where they're hungry and find the places where they're thirsty, whether emotionally or physically, like you found in the Congo. Anywhere we look, there's people in need of that love and in need of that support. And it may come in different ways. It may come as clean water. It may come as just a genuine hug where you don't want anything from somebody. And you're just checking on them and you're just there for them.
What's so nuts was last night I had a pretty powerful moment. I was with Brigham and Matt Bundy and some Caitlin Rose, like some people from the Fit for Service tribe. And Matt had a friend that flew in to see him from LA or Seattle, something like that, where he was from. And he was hosting him for the first night. And his friend was like, yeah, I just don't get it. And he said, Matt telling his friend Brian that, about the tribe, about community, about love and acceptance and all this journey he's been on, this spiritual journey. Like his friend never really got it. It's been his best friend, but they've been kind of disconnected or just didn't have that flow between each other. And last night I started hanging out with Brian, started sharing some of my story with him. I'm connected with Caitlin and Matt and Brigham, but some reason I was drawn to Brian. Dude, I gave him a hug at the beginning of the night, and like I saw something in his eyes, and Matt told me, he goes, dude, something's happening in him. Something's stirring. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, something's stirring. I've never seen that look in his eye from like a hug. I go, really? And I just kept connecting with him, other stuff like that. And we really hit it off. And at the end of the night, man, I gave him this hug that, it's just a bro hug, but like I try to let people know they're loved when I hug them. Like, you're loved. It's just kind of what I say in my mind. And dude, he broke, started crying a little bit, started tearing up, like had to sit down from having a hug. And Matt came over and me and Brian started talking to him. And I wish, I could pull up the text or something, but Matt just kept going about like how much that meant to him, all this stuff. And then Matt shared with me, I had no clue that this guy, Brian, at all, no clue that he knew my story, that he had watched multiple things on my Joe Rogan podcast, that he had donated before, that he didn't tell me that at all. He didn't share that with me. But we just connected, we vibed, we had all this stuff. And like, I got to just love on him, right? Just bless the mess out of him, love the hell out of him, whatever. Dude, it was like a transformational moment for this guy to where he felt tribe and community. He's like, dude, this is why you talk about these people. This is why I never got it before. I get it. Oh man, he said something that was so good. But he was like, I get it, or the lights just came on, or like, this is what it's about. Like these words, I was just like, just 3 or 4 words. I was just like, whoa, yes, yes. Like you're starting to wake up, starting to discover and deepen, develop. And so, man, I'm so incredibly grateful to be here and now with you.
No doubt, brother.
You guys in the room and this tribe, and people need it, man. I'm so grateful for you, who you are, what you've created, and that whole thing, you know, like whoever's listening to this, you know, you have a community. You can start a tribe. You can be part of it. Like you're not alone. We are all one. And I don't know, just don't give up. Don't quit. Don't throw in the towel. Like I was about to go down to Mexico, take all the drugs I could, give up and die. And like I'm here and, I love being here now. Yeah. And wherever the listeners are, man, hope they continue to support you, listen, all that other stuff. But I want them to know that they know that they know that they have a purpose, that they are loved, that they're not only meant to love others, but they're meant to be loved by others and to love themselves. Connect to source. We're rivers. We're not reservoirs. We can, if we disconnect, we become a reservoir real quick, but we're meant to be rivers.
No doubt, brother. No doubt. Well, let's end.
Sure.
I'm called to end with a traditional type of prayer, and this prayer is for all of us, for me and you, and also for all the listeners. And it's the 7 directions prayer. That's comes from, and I've of course made it my own, but it comes from South America. There's different 4 directions and 7 directions prayers that come from different parts of the world. But yeah, let's just take a moment to drop in as we wrap this up. So let's take a few breaths. Close your eyes as long as you're not driving. And if you are, just be present. Spirit of the South, great anaconda, may you be with us here today. May you teach us to shed all that does not serve us, all the guilt, all the shame, all the judgments that we've had of self and of others that are shackling us, holding us in a prison of our own creation. And may we shed that as the great anaconda sheds its skin, whole in one piece, so that we can grow into a new year of life, become what we are destined to be. But first, we must shed all of our skin. So may we learn from you, great anaconda, Spirit of the South. Spirit of the West, Otorongo, Jaguar. May we learn from you and may you be with us. May we learn fearlessness as you stalk your prey from the silent and dark treetops, afraid of nothing. May we learn to stalk our own prey, our greed, our desires, our own fears. May we stalk those, consume them whole, bones and all, and transmute them into love, into fearlessness, the fearlessness that grants us choice, because only when we are free of our fears and free of our cravings do we truly have agency to do our soul's bidding and to do what we are here to do. Otorongo, Jaguar, Spirit of the West, Humpe, Humpe, be with us. Spirit of the North, Hummingbird, Be with us. Be with us in your joy, in your exuberance, in your laughter. And as you make that long migration towards the warmer weather on those small wings, may we learn to make our own journey, fueling ourselves and drinking only the nectar of life, our sustenance coming from the flowers, coming from the joy, coming from the love, coming from community. May we be filled with that little bit of nectar from the sweetness of life to make a journey of seemingly impossible length, with our heart beating and our wings fluttering. Spirit of the North, hummingbird, be with us. Be with us all. Spirit of the East, condor, great eagle, be with us, and may we learn from you to look down upon our life from perspective, the perspective that sees all of the small animals, all of the small shadows, all of the hidden places within our own heart. May we gaze upon the challenges that have shaped who we are from the perspective and the height, to realize that everything that has happened to us happened for us to help us become who we are. And may we learn the ultimate gift of sight, to see through everyone else's eyes, no matter rich or poor, no matter whatever judgment we may have. May we truly see through everyone's eyes and realize, when we do, that we are all the same. We are all one. The great gift of sight. Be with us, condor, eagle. Pachamama, Earth Mother, be with us here today as you always are. We are made up of you, our bones, our skin, made up of the plants and the animals, the bounty that you've created, that are you, that is you, and the waters that flow through our blood, the waters of your earth. We are one and inseparable from you. We are you. May we remember that, so that when we love the earth and our food, we don't look at it as separate. We look at it as same, because it is same. One day we will return back to the earth, back to the air, back to the water from whence we came. Inseparable, one, and in service to you, Great Mother. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Pachamama. Sky Father, Great Spirit, Source, be with us here as you always are. The other part of creation, the guides, the unseen hands, the help, the soul, the essence of life itself, the essence of love itself, the force that animates the minerals and the elements and the atoms of our body. Without your force, we have no life. We are you, just as we are the earth. In the constant dance, the oldest love affair ever told, source and creation, energy and matter. May we recognize that no matter how many times we turn away, you are always there with open arms and forgiveness and love, just as we are capable of. Love for self, abundant as the sun that shines on all creatures and all things, indiscriminate. May we be filled with that love and that recognition that we are all source and we are all love. We have come as love and we are love in this dance, and there's nothing we need to do to deserve it, because we already are it. It's only our judgments that create separation from you. We ask not for forgiveness, because we know we are always forgiven before we even ask. There is no judgment in love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Great Spirit, for saying yes to this dance, to this ability to know ourselves through polarity, through separation, so that we can find the unity back in love again. And all the adventures along the way, the remembering and the forgetting, we bless it all. And all our ancestors that have come before, and all the guides and all the helpers. Thank you, Great Spirit. And lastly, to our own hearts, a combination of flesh and spirit, of earth and God. May we know that you are always there, our heart, our center, the truth of who we are. Unmarred, unbreakable, there is nothing that can break our heart. It is a shining diamond in a world full of pillows, and we may think that our hearts are broken, but they never are. Our hearts are always there, a brilliant white light, and when we identify that heart and allow it to spread through every cell of our body, then our actions become emanations of our heart, and then spread into our thoughts, and then our words and our deeds become emanations of our heart, the truth of who we are. Our heart is always there. Thank you, heart. May we remember to walk with you leading, heart forward, head up. And may this prayer find all those who need it, wherever you are, whoever you are. And may you know that you're not alone, that we are with you whether we ever see you or whether we don't, whether Justin gives you a big old hug or whether he never does. We're with you, brothers, sisters. We're with you to the end. And there is no end. So we're with you forever. Oh.
Oh. Amen. That's good.
Well, brother, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, man. Appreciate it. That was, wow.
Yeah. Just a moment to remember, we can go through our whole life and never take these moments to really remember and orient ourselves. And it's a powerful practice. So hopefully.
I love that.
Thank you, brother.
Start trying to do that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. A lot. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And thank you to the teachers and the peoples that have created this as a map for us to orient ourselves in this wild world. Well, brother, as we wrap this up, where can people go for a Fight for the Forgotten and find you and all that good stuff?
Wow. Yeah, bring it back.
Hard segue. Yeah. Hard segue, but we got to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I know.
We're back out, everybody. Sorry about that. Normally I would let you just sit in the glow a bit, but we got to wrap this thing up. This is a podcast.
Yeah. We got to go sometime. So I thank you so much for that. Like, I needed that. It was a real gift to me. I hope it's a gift to everyone that was listening, at least one, right? Yeah. And it will be. Where people could find fightfortheforgotten.org. People can become donors if they want. Our newest mission right now is we expanded into Uganda, and just like those slums you were talking about in Kenya, there's a brutal slum in Bundibugyo, Uganda, that we work in with the Pygmy people. They were evicted from the Similiki National Forest. They were put on 1 acre of land, over 300 people, bro, on 1 acre of land, saying this is where you're designated to live now. And over 300 people, we went there. I took Chris Cyborg with me actually she helped drill the first 2 wells there. And so we went to scout out like new land, and Dustin Poirier helped fund like well over 6 figures from his fight with Khabib, and Khabib donated, and then Dana White matched it. And it was wild, man. We were able to do so much good. With that money, we were able to go buy 48 acres of new land for the Pygmy people in the forest on a mountaintop that so gorgeous, and there's 35 surviving families. Now, over 300 people were walking around, and Chris and I were walking on these mounds, and the kids are playing, and they're having to pick up their little games and move, little things they carved, right? And parents are cooking, and they're having to pick up their firewood and move because all of a sudden sewage is being poured out of the slum, and it's going down the hill, and it's about to consume where the kids are playing or where the parents are cooking. They're literally having to shift their food of where they're cooking, what they're eating. So anyways, we have that 48 new acres of land. We already have 3 little sustainable farms that we're going to rotate on, that they're going to have. And we're building 35 new homes for the 35 surviving families. But I asked Chief Zito, I got something from him that I'm going to give you sometime. It's a handmade knife from the chief. I'm going to bring it to you. You'd love it. He's given me a few, and one of them's got your name on it. So,
beautiful. Thank you, brother.
Yeah. I asked Zito, I go, what are these mounds? His throne used to be in the forest. It was not just his father, but his grandfather's throne in these trees, like these buttressing roots. And he would sit there and his elders would sit around him. It's just this tree you could drive a Mack truck through, and that's his throne. But he was kicked out of it. They're living on these mounds, and I ask him what the mounds are, and he says, Justin, they don't give us anywhere. Or Mangbo, the big one, the big pygmy kind of thing. He goes, they don't give us anywhere to bury our dead. We live on top of our cemetery. Like this is the only place we can bury them. There's over 150 bodies that they live on top of, that they sleep on top of, that they cook on top of, that they play on top of, that they cry on top of. And they don't have any headstones, no markings, no anything. They just know who it was. Anyways, so we're moving them off that land onto new land. 3 new wells are there already. We're building a football field or a soccer pitch or soccer field, football pitch, to where we can host the games, like the Bundabugio district soccer game with the people that used to oppress them. Now it's a land of peace and community and tribe coming together to accept one another by playing games. Because in martial arts, martial arts doesn't discriminate against anybody. No. You're not black, white, or yellow, green, blue, pink. It doesn't matter your religion. Like when you're on the mats, you're a martial artist, and your opponent becomes your best friend. Anyway, so we're going to be having healing games. Like the championship game is probably going to be hosted on their new land.
Amazing.
So anyways, yeah. So fightforthecount.org. They can go there. They can follow me on the Big Pygmy. And just so incredibly grateful. If people want to donate, support that, they can. We also have bullying and suicide prevention initiatives here in schools. We've impacted over 100,000 students there, 22 million online. So anyone can follow there, give there. We can't do it without the support of good people. And so, yeah, we have a fight club. People can be a monthly giver if they want. The fight club, first rule of fight club is you do speak about fight club. And then after that, you can give $5 a month, $1 a month, or whatever you can. And that's how we know we can continue the mission. So thank you, bro.
You're welcome, brother. You're welcome. Yeah. And thank you to everybody so much for tuning in, and we love you.
Yeah. Love you.
We love you.
Much love.
Thanks, everybody. Peace. Thanks for checking out this video. For more like it, please subscribe to my channel. And of course, the Aubrey Marcus podcast with new episodes every single week. And follow me on Instagram @Aubrey Marcus. Thank you so much.